I love it. There's some great energy in here. All right, so welcome to the Q1 Town Hall readout. So how many of y'all have ever been to one of the quarterly report town halls? Excellent. Love to see returning visitors. So for those that have been here, you know there's a lot of information that comes out in these sessions. And certainly it's really meant to be a readout on what's going on in the quarter. And the Q1 Town Hall is really special because it's actually where we reveal what the priorities will be for the year based upon your feedback. And hopefully you had a chance to provide your feedback. There were several surveys that went out. There were all types of town hall sessions, virtual sessions, all during the first 2 months of this year. So hopefully you got your feedback in, and the survey just closed this last Friday. So we'll be revealing what everyone said was important to them. Now, mind you, District 2 is broad, right? There are a lot of different communities, a lot of different needs. So as far as the priorities are concerned, we try to be extremely sensitive to all the different needs so that everyone gets a chance to understand what different areas are looking for and how we can collectively come together to think about all the unique needs that exist within our communities. So, welcome again. This is a readout, and the first thing, because I'm gonna, we always do the priorities, but reveal a little bit into it. I start off with the county updates. So if you look over here, you will see a line of the county's finest. Can we give them a round of applause? Yes, I love them too. So with the county updates, what's going on around the county? So I will ask for each of the members of staff, if you see your department come up, just if you want to share anything in particular, you're welcome to share anything. And for those in your chairs, there's a packet. It also includes a lot of the updates as well. So in case you missed something or you want to see a little bit more information, it's in there as well. So first up, we've got the tax assessor's office. You win the prize. And you all can clap for them while they're walking.
Well, good evening. It is that time of the year again where we will be mailing out our assessment notices. For residential, they will go out on May the 11th. And just wanted to provide a little bit of background. When I was here last year, I told those in attendance at our District 2 Town Hall that we would be mailing more assessment notices that see a change than ever before. And I am here to say that again. The real estate market in Cobb County continues to thrive, and we are seeing it in changes in assessment notices. So probably about 80% of the county will see a change in value again this year. And that is a reflection of location, location, location. Cobb County is a great place to live, work, and play, and we are seeing that reflected in higher real estate prices. So just as a reminder, when you get your notice, if you have any questions, feel free to call our office. You can email us. You can also go to our website, cobbassessor.org, cobbassessor.org, and you can see the sales in your subdivision. As a reminder, our value that we are placing is reflective of the stats of your property on January 1st. So that means you have to look at sales activity that occurred in the calendar year 2022. Our website will help you do that. If you need assistance, give us a call, email us. We'll be happy to email you all that information. Good to know now before you get your assessment notice, really what sales are doing in your neighborhood. I do have another commitment this evening, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them now, or if you want to raise your hand, I'll give you a business card. You can email me or call me, whichever is most convenient. Any questions? Thank you very much for letting me inform you about what's coming up. Again, that mail date is May the 11th, so shortly after that, you should see our little notice in the mail.
And I'll share a little tidbit from elections. I don't think elections is coming, but I'm saying that just in case someone did show up. No, we just had an election in the county, Mapleton. How many of y'all know we now have a new city in this county? That's news. I broke it for you. So they completed their election, and of course, all of the redistricting maps are now uploaded into the system. system. So that is a result of a lot of different codes and uploads. And if you're ever interested in that process, there are some really passionate members of our team that would be happy to walk you through all of that information as well. All right, next up, EMA. This is from our emergency management team. They've been busy. Right? We've had tornadoes, certainly a lot of expansion on the team side, and really just making sure that there's an increased amount of engagement with the community as well in order to expand some of these emergency response programs. So definitely kudos to all the work that EMA is doing, and you can read more about this content in your packet, of course, as well. Police, Major Patterson, come on up.
Thank you. Hey, I would like to start with a joke, but I see they're recording, so I'm not going to start. All right. Quick update on what's been going on in Zone 4. Last year, we had our officers in squad meeting, which is the shift briefing before they go on the road. They got about 18 total hours of additional training. It's very important. We have some young officers, very new officers. So it's good to reinforce all the training that they get in the police academy. In addition to that, I'll tell you about a couple of good cases that our guys made. One of them was patrol officers got a call of some suspicious people in a parking lot at an apartment complex. They showed up and they caught 3 people breaking into cars. They called out the detectives, and the detectives were able to link them to 25 to 30 cases in the Zone 4 and Zone 3 area together. That reduced our car break-ins the 2-week period after that by 50%. They went from about 15, 16, 17 down to 7 or 8. So, and remained there for quite a while. So it's interesting that one group of people can be accountable for so many different things going on. Another case, there are groups of people called South American theft groups. They target people that are wealthy, and they typically break in the back door and steal things when you're not there. They look for very high dollar value things. And we had officers respond to one of those incidents. They knew, based on training that they had received in squad meeting, that those crimes typically occur near big parking lots. So like if you live in a cul-de-sac that backs up to a church parking lot, the suspects will drive to the church parking lot, park there, walk through the woods to a backyard, kick in a back door, break out a back sliding glass door, and steal stuff and come back. So officers looked, saw it backed up to a church. Some officers went to the church and stopped the guy who was in a van waiting. The other officers went to the house, which had several people running away from it, to the van, where the officers had one guy in custody. So they ended up with 4 in custody. That case ended up being tied to cases in 4 different states, and they're doing a multi-state investigation on that. So those folks went to jail, and to my knowledge, are still there. Other than that, we also got a new precinct assistant commander, Captain Paul Kincaid. I should he'll introduce himself to y'all after the meeting. And right now we've got we've got 17 officers on day watch. We have 17 officers on evening watch and 16 on the night shift. That's where we're at right now, and we've got 1 recruit training. Anybody have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
We support you, reach out to you.
Amen. Thank you. We appreciate that. We need all the support we can get. Anyone else?
How many total officers in the agency?
Total officers in the agency, we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say about 650. Some of those are in training right now. in the back.
Can I ask why you call it South American raids? Is it because of their South American or is there another reason?
Because the suspects are all from South America, and they travel here for that reason. That's why they come up. So typically, either from Chile or Colombia are the two countries that they're most often from. What else? All right, thank you very much.
Actually, the other day, there was a Cobb County Police Department award ceremony, and there were a lot of life-saving stories that came out of those awards. So appreciate the work they do. Drew. Always have a lot going on around transportation district too, so take it away.
Good evening, Drew Essler, Cobb County Department of Transportation. A couple of projects that have been completed and upcoming. One of the larger ones that was just completed is the Windy Terrell Mill connector. That's the Bentley Road extension, not far from here, take Windy Hill, and that'll take you all the way to Terrell Mill. I know many of those that work in this area have been using that daily, getting to and from the express lanes primarily over on Terrell Mill. Open that up, and I've already seen great use of that project. Additionally, we are working on a couple other projects in the area. We'll actually extend the trail that comes down that road and connect into Bob County in partnership with our friends here in Cumberland, CID. So excited to see that trail network continue, as well as design on updating our Lower Roswell Road project. The landscaping on Windy Terrell Mill, inclusive of the Bob County extension, will take place this fall, just to make sure we get cooler weather. Believe it or not, it's warming up, so we'll wait until we get to cooler weather to make sure that landscaping survives. And then a few sidewalk projects on Bill Murdoch, a safe routes to school project in partnership with the school system. There with Walton High School, sidewalk along Chestnut Lake, and Sewell Mill Road, additionally all on the back. Transportation questions, yes, sir.
What's the Lower Roswell Road?
The Lower Roswell Road project goes either direction from Johnson Ferry Road, and it looks at creating safety and operational improvements throughout the Lower Roswell corridor. We have a number of unsignalized medians, high crash rate through the area, so it collects that traffic into signalized and centralized locations. So addition of a median, addition of turn lanes primarily at Johnson Ferry to make sure that, as well as sidewalk enhancements to make sure that find that exact location. So,
Yeah, thank you for describing the Lower Roswell Road in Johnson Ferry. But what about, can you tell us about that piece of property that's right in the corner, that corner piece where there had been a man living for a long time and now that house is gone? What's happening with that particular property at Woodlawn and Lower Roswell?
absolutely. Oh.
Go ahead.
That property was part of the project, so that property has been acquired by the county. We're coordinating with the Parks Department to turn it into a pocket park, to clean up that area and make it, it's a small piece of property, but make it an amenity for the area.
So it would be made into a park?
Just a small pocket park.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is anyone from fire? Fire's been busy in the real estate department. closed on land deal, Fire Station 20. Of course, we have the Unicorn Fire Station that's also in the docket. That's the one right at Cumberland Mall. That's been pending, and then, so that bid they're expecting later on, and then, just using some of those ARPA dollars, which I'll share a little bit about ARPA later on, but ARPA dollars to get some of the new equipment, brought into the department. So, onward. Libraries, anyone from library? There we go. Forward momentum.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Terry Tresk with Com Libraries. Just want to share a few new services that we have begun within the last 6 months. But first, I would love to know if any of you visited our spring book sale at the Civic Center this weekend. Oh, yes, a few of you. Excellent. All the proceeds from that sale and the fall sale go to purchase new books. So we always appreciate everyone's support. Ross always does an amazing job capturing the mayhem of opening day. The fall sale is October 13th through the 15th, so mark your calendars. If you have travel plans this coming year and you need a passport, you can now come to 2 of our Cobb libraries. The Mountain View and the West Cobb branches are now passport acceptance facilities. That service started in September. We submitted an application to the State Department trying to get 6 of our libraries certified to be facilities. They limited us due to what they deem as demand in the area. And they also wanted to see if we could do it right for a while, honestly, first. We have an amazing accuracy rate because they do track how many applications have to be sent back to us or sent back to applicants. We are happy to say that you pay your passport fee to the State Department, but the acceptance fee of $35 does come back to the library and goes toward, becomes revenue for the library. So it goes back so that we can use it for our operations. And it's only for new passports, or if yours is really expired, you still have to do your renewals online. We will do adult and children's passports. We also, as Commissioner Richardson said, we are a diverse district as well as a diverse county. So we launched our citizenship kits again back in the fall. These are, it's a collection of materials that anyone who is working on getting their citizenship in the United States can use to help them study. It tells them, helps them walk them through the process, and leads them to other library sources that they can use. So this can be checked out at any of your libraries. We also, if you have not taken advantage, we have for years partnered with the state library to offer community passes to an array of Atlanta attractions, such as the zoo, the Puppetry Center, discounts to the aquarium, but we are starting to do that with our local attractions as well. So we now have community passes for the Marietta History Center and in downtown Marietta and to Smith Gilbert Gardens in Kennesaw. So what that means is you come to the library, you check out a pass, and that gets your family into the facility for free. So with the History Center, you can get up to 6 family members in, and for the gardens, up to 4 members in. So that's very exciting, and we hope to expand that with some other organizations that we're looking at. Last but not least, a little bragging for us. We were recognized nationally, actually our bookmobile team was recognized for their preschool outreach and school services inspiration award. We partnered with Cobb and Marietta schools. They collected gently used books through their students and their parent organizations, and then the bookmobile takes those books out to the community at a number of stops, whether it's in neighborhoods, community centers, big outreach community events, and we give away those books for free. So that effort, both partners were recognized with that award. So I'll stop there because there's always a lot to talk about. So thank you all very much.
fantastic libraries. Oops. Water. Come on up, Judy.
Hi, good evening. I'm Judy Jones with the Water System. First, I want to talk about a program that we started in the fall, which is our Flume Smart Water Device rebate program. So it's a device that you can purchase. You attach it to your water meter, and then you open up an app on your phone. It connects to an app, and it can tell you how much water you're using. So it can give you information about like how much water you use when you run the dishwasher, when you have a shower. It will let you know how much water you're using when you're outside irrigating, watering your grass. A lot of people don't realize how much water they're using when they're watering. But the best feature is that it will also notify you with an alert if it thinks you have a leak. So if water is running for a long time and it thinks it's a leak, it will notify you that. And even better than that, it has an away mode. So if you go out of town, you can set the device to notify a neighbor or a family member if it detects a leak while you're out of town, so you can go over and check your house. It's a great, great device, a great program. Flume sells it, so it's $180. If you go on their website, you can go to cobbcounty.org, cobbwater.org, our website, and go to the leak section. And there is information on the Flume device in there. You purchase the device through Flume for $180, and then once you install it, we'll give you a $100 rebate, so it's only $80. One leak, you can make that $80 back in one leak very quickly by detecting a leak before we read your meter the next month. So it really is a wonderful program. And then we have kind of a similar program where if you think you have a leak now or you're not sure why your water consumption is what it is, we will loan you one of these devices for 90 days. So you can borrow one from us, install it for 90 days, and if you like it, then you can go buy your own, but you have to return the one for us within 90 days. So that gives you a chance to check it out, or if you have an immediate issue that you want to check out, you can get a device from us. So that's a great program I encourage everybody to utilize. Other things we have going on, we're continuing to evaluate stormwater services, looking at the services we provide compared to what other counties and cities provide, and we also continue to look at how we bill for stormwater. So we currently bill for stormwater based on the amount of water a customer uses. So we're looking at possibly what it would look like if we changed to charging for that based on the amount of impervious surface on a property, because it's the impervious surface that causes the amount of runoff from a property. So we continue to do that. It's been quite a long program. The county is in the process of updating the impervious data in the GIS, and we need that to do that evaluation, so we continue to work on that. A big project that the board just approved in this area is a $9.7 million sewer replacement project. It's along 285 at Galleria, so that's a big project that will be starting up soon that we're excited about. And then another thing that the board just approved in March that I'm very excited about is a new billing system. So we're going to be replacing our billing system. That is not an easy task. It takes a lot of effort to migrate data from one billing system to a new billing system. So it's going to take us over a year to implement this. But once we do, we're going to have a much improved customer portal. So the customer experience will be better if you go online and check your meter, and we will have much improved online services. So there are a lot of things that people will be able to do through the customer portal. And when we have a new system that now you have to pick up the phone and call us to do. So it will be much improved service for our customers. So we're looking forward to that. That will probably roll out next April or May is the time frame we're looking at for that. So any questions? Yes, ma'am.
The stormwater utility fee, is that in place now for both residents or commercial, or will that be in place? Because I live in a condo community, we lost about 24 condos 2.5 years ago with the 100.
Yes, so currently we charge for stormwater based on the amount of water and sewer a property uses. All properties that are in unincorporated Cobb are charged that way. Our rates are higher for unincorporated Cobb than for the citizens that we serve that are in a city limit, because we don't provide stormwater services within city limits.
So that's for the county, because we're in the city of Marietta, so that's for the county.
Right, so that's for the county. So if you're in the city, then you're probably not our customer. Yes, ma'am.
A town community where the HOA picks up the water, so looking at the through smartphone? Would that be something I have to employ, they can do it? I was just curious about my water consumption.
Yes, you have to see if you have a sub-meter to put that on there. You would not qualify for a rebate, because you're not our direct customer, but it still is worth $180 if you want to check your water consumption. If you're billed based on a sub-meter, it's still worth looking into. Yes, ma'am.
Will your new program that you're changing to, will that include remote meter reading? I guess.
No, what we're looking at is the billing system, but not changing out the meters or the type of meters that we have right now. Yes.
Does the phone monitor, is it just detect ongoing?
So basically what it does is it listens to the meter, and when the meter turns, it detects the meter turning. So it calculates water usage based on the meter turning. So it'll tell you how much water you're using based on how it's listening to the meter. It will detect all the water that's going through the meter. So it will tell you each day how much water you're using. It's real time. You can turn it on, you can see the water you use. You can take a shower, get out, look at your app, and see how much water you're using for your shower.
Does the water actually run through this flume device, so it's measuring volume, or is it just measuring noise in the meter? And secondly, is there a monthly charge for that?
It is just measuring the noise of the meter. It goes on the outside of the meter, and there is not a monthly charge for it.
Is the program national, or did you have to create the app yourself?
The Flume is a private company, and so it's a device that this private company created, and we tested it out, and then decided that we thought it was something that we would want to partner with them to give a rebate to our customers if they bought one. So they're they're separate from us. Their app is separate, the device is separate. We're just partnering with them.
The storm drains in my neighborhood are in pretty bad shape. I mean, some of them are wide open, and many of them have, pretty, large gaps in the, in the drain itself. And, I was just wondering how you manage that process and identify the ones that need to be fixed and then getting them fixed.
So I'll need to get more information on what you're talking about, because some issues DOT handles if it's in the right of way, and there's some issues that the water system handles. So we handle stormwater pipes that are in easements off the right of way. But we evaluate them. We just evaluate the issues. We have a backlog of work orders, and we evaluate them and have a way to prioritize them, and we work them as quick as we can.
Just want to be clear, the phone is not connected to the bill, right? So if you read a meter, it's not going to override the bill.
Correct. It's not connected to our billing system at all. Yes, sir.
Other than a community, excuse me, they have a master warranty for 100 homes. This device will catch that master meter.
No, it will not. It doesn't work on the very large meters like a master meter. It's a device for small residential meters. Thank you.
Come to Jessica.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jessica Gwynn. I'm the Community Development Director in Cobb County. And for those of you who don't know what all community development includes, we have a big umbrella. So it's all the things, a lot of things that affect you close to home: planning and zoning, permitting, inspections, economic development, code enforcement, business license, erosion and sediment control. I feel like there's something I'm leaving out. It's a lot. We do a lot of great things in community development. So I wanted to give you some of the highlights for 2022. If you drive around Cobb County, you see developments happening everywhere. Interestingly, though, in 2022, we actually had a drop-off in single-family home permits. So we issued over 600 single-family permits last year. That was down from over 900 in 2021. So we've seen a little bit of drop-off on single-family. However, there's been a big uptick on commercial. Last year, we permitted 8.3 million square feet of commercial development in the county. So that's a lot. So as you can see, we're staying very busy. We had a total of about 80,000 residential and commercial inspections that our county inspectors performed. We had about 17,000 erosion control inspections, 22,000 code enforcement inspections, and over 2,000 code enforcement citations were issued in 2022. So we stay very busy. We've got a lean, mean crew, but they get a lot of great work done out there. Some of the highlights, hopefully some of you had an opportunity to attend some of our comprehensive plan update meetings last year. We did complete the 5-year update to the county's 2040 comprehensive plan, and that's the 20-year planning document that serves as a policy guide for land use and development in the county. We also kicked off work on the Unified Development Code. Has anybody heard about the Unified Development Code process? Okay, a few of you, that's awesome. This is a huge project. So the county's zoning ordinance was adopted in 1972. Commissioner, do you know what a mimeograph shop is? I didn't know what a mimeograph shop was either. It's in the zoning ordinance though. It's not really something you see around here anymore, but you think about the uses that are new since 1972. Drive-through COVID testing. Like, who would imagine that? Parking lots where Amazon vans park overnight. You think about how we do business differently. Remember on Fridays at about lunchtime, everybody used to go to the bank to deposit their paycheck? And there's like a long line at the drive-through. So we actually have ordinance that spell out how many drive-through lanes and how long they have to be. Well, now then they're empty. So maybe we don't need quite so many drive-through lanes at the bank anymore. You think about how things changed with COVID, how more and more of us have continued to do our shopping online and groceries delivered to our house. The only day, even Black Friday at the mall, you can do all that online. So we don't need quite as much parking for our retail facilities anymore. So as we think about that and the way that zoning and development patterns has changed, this is the right time to take a fresh look at our codes. In the county, we have the zoning ordinance. We also have design guidelines in some areas, and then we have development standards. So it's 3 separate documents that all direct development in Cobb County. And unfortunately, they don't always jive because they've been updated and piecemealed over time. So with the Unified Development Code process, what we're doing is we're bringing all of those documents into one updated, streamlined document that will be your one-stop shop for all things development and zoning here in the county. The benefit is first of all, it'll be easier for people who are coming to do work in Cobb County, people who are building and developing. They'll know what the expectations are. It'll be clearly outlined. As citizens, you'll see that the new document is going to be very graphically driven, so there's going to be a lot of illustrations so that some of those technical planning and development things that maybe you're not sure about, you can see a picture and know exactly what it is, and know what type of development you can expect near you. And also for our staff, it's going to be helpful so that we'll be able to ensure that we're continuing to enforce our codes and to implement them correctly. So we're really excited about that. It's a big project, though. It's a heavy lift. Like I said, we kicked it off in the fall. This is about a 2-year project, though, so we expect it will probably wrap up in the fall of 2024. Our next round of public meetings is coming up in June, so I hope that you'll take a chance to come out and participate in that process, because we do want to ensure that we're getting a lot of input from residents, as well as our business community and all of those who are looking to live and work in Cobb County. So if you want to check it out, you can go online. The website for the project is cobbcountyudc.com. So go check that out, and there's lots of good information on there about the project. And then finally, another thing I wanted to mention to you all, last year the Board of Commissioners adopted a short-term rental code for Cobb County. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, but short-term rentals, of course, you think about Airbnb, VRBO, all of those vacation rentals. We didn't have any regulation of short-term rentals. What we were running into is we were getting complaints from neighbors that somebody's renting out the house next door just for the weekend. There's cars everywhere. There's a lot of noise. They're having a big party, all of these things. Well, we have codes to handle all of those things. We have a parking ordinance. We have ordinances about noise. We have ordinances about litter. We have all of that. But when we're talking about someone who's maybe only there for a few days, it's difficult to enforce those codes and to ensure that they're going to be a good neighbor. So with the short-term rental ordinance, what we're doing is that for people who have short-term rentals, and if any of you have a short-term rental, you would come to our business license office and you would get a short-term rental certificate. The fee is, I believe, $55. It's not very much. But basically, it doesn't say you can't have one, but what it's going to ensure is that whenever someone comes in for a short-term rental certificate, they would need to give us a local agent, somebody who's a local point of contact with their phone number. So that way we know if somebody's got a problem, if you as a neighbor have a problem where the people next door are getting a little out of hand, you know somebody locally that you can contact. We have somebody locally that we can contact. And if they continue to be a problem and they continue to not be good neighbors while they're staying there, it'll give us the opportunity with this code that we would be able to hold whoever owns and leases that unit out on a short-term basis accountable. After 3 violations, they would lose the opportunity to have a short-term rental certificate. So it really makes it incumbent on the property owner to ensure that the people that they're renting that property out to on a short-term basis are people who are going to come in and be good neighbors to you while they're here. So that's it for me. I'm glad to answer any questions that anybody has about community development. Yes, sir.
I may not have been paying attention, but I thought early on you were talking about commercial property, new commercial property that's been added, which sounded like an attractive thing. But I live at the intersection of Powersbury and Windy Hill, and last time I checked some of those commercial buildings around that area, and there are a lot of them, there was a lot of empty space. So before, is all the empty space full to the point that we need to add more commercial space?
Okay, so whenever we say we permitted commercial space, a lot of it, when it's been permitted commercial, it may not be that it's new space. It may be space that's being renovated. So they come in and get permits for that too. So a lot of it would be redevelopment. In fact, we've had some pretty big redevelopments, throughout the East Cobb area, throughout the county. So that would be included in that. It's not all new space. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just to kind of tack on that, I think that would be an interesting number to see the breakdown of the large number you gave. Not for any other reason, just that I think that'd be interesting data. And I think might help us see like, oh, we are spending more time redeveloping good thing rather than blowing out new areas.
Well, in Cobb County, we are at a point where we are very much built out. So a lot of our development opportunity really is more redevelopment. And that is what we're seeing a lot of countywide is redevelopment. Yes, sir.
Is recycling in the neighborhood?
No, sir, recycling is going to be under the waste management, sanitation. I don't remember.
Solid waste and beautification.
Solid waste and beautification. Yeah, so I knew that had a cute name, something a little sexier than sanitation.
Dr. J is in here, but Jatana's in the back, so she's, yeah. Go ahead.
Anybody else? Any other community? Yes, ma'am.
When the UDC code is, I guess, ready to be launched, do you anticipate, or could we potentially look at it now already, having like some navigation, training or modules available so people can understand how to navigate that site?
Absolutely, we can certainly do that. We can put up some videos, we can put up some tools online, and we'll continue having these meetings over the process of the project. So as the draft is available, we'll have big show and tells and give you an opportunity to take a little sneak peek at that. Yeah.
The consolidation of those 3 documents and making them more image friendly and all that kind of stuff, whose great job was that?
It was a project that the Board of Commissioners has agreed to fund, and we appreciate their support in that because it's important.
Really? Yeah, good thing.
Yes.
Yes, well, I think it's going to be helpful for smaller developers, in particular, that we don't have huge teams of lawyers to cite. So, and I'm also excited to hear that there's potential for reevaluating parking requirements, because when I drive around the county, it's like those parking lots, especially huge parking lots, they're like 80% empty. So I'm excited to see what might come in the future in terms of allowing for diverse types of development.
We're very excited about it too, yes. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I hadn't thought about garbage till it was just mentioned not that long ago. Mary and David here, they were talking about, I think, Austell wanting to change garbage truck deliveries. I think they had 11 companies who service Austell, and you could have multiple garbage trucks on the same street on the same day, and they wanted to do something. Apparently, our commissioners back then believed in something called laissez-faire capitalism. Do whatever you want to do, wherever you want to do it. How about Cobb County? Countywide, are we limiting and controlling garbage pickup a little bit?
At this point, and if Jatana wants to speak to that later, she can, but I think I know enough to speak intelligently about it here. At this point, there's not a move to changed the codes to require that. And I know that there was a solid waste ordinance that was presented, I believe in 2022, or no, yeah, it was last year, that did not move forward. It needs a little bit more work. So right now I know that our public services and our solid waste and beautification, is that right?
I messed up, it's sustainability.
Sustainability, waste, and beautification. I know that our leadership in that area are looking at opportunities to how can we continue to improve waste management here in Cobb County, garbage collection.
Good luck.
Yes, sir.
I got a question that ties sustainability in. Does the UDC cover EV infrastructure?
That is one thing that I think is very important. In fact, I've talked to our consultants a little bit as we talk about parking standards. It's not only like how much parking do we really need, but also thinking about, providing EV facilities and what does that look like? Is it a mandate you have to provide it, or is it an incentive like, hey, let's encourage that? And I think any opportunity that we have to let that be a carrot to think towards the future. But that's really what we're trying to do here, is to be forward thinking, future thinking, and thinking about the uses and the technology that we may see over the years to come. Way back in that, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Is covered to step up enforcement on section of the detention funds? You have an enforcement fee.
Judy, you want to speak to?
So if the water system actually inspected to the existing detention pond, the water system, stormwater management division, does inspections of.
So what was your question about detention ponds?
If we're going to step up enforcement and inspections.
We are working on trying to get some more inspectors out to be able to inspect more of those proactively. That's something we're trying to get done.
I'm not sure on this, but still, are you planning to relax the codes for runoff?
So stormwater falls under the water system, and no, we're not planning on relaxing codes related to runoff.
All right, any other community development questions? That's it. Thank you all.
All right, animal services. I don't think we have anyone from animal services. Really just some statistics here. So last year, animal adoptions increased 16%, rescues 14%, intakes 9%, and the release rate 88%. Calls for service. So this past quarter, they were just with their 30% increase. Animal adoptions 47% increase, 5% increase on rescues, 23% increase on intakes, and 91% on live release rate. And there is a foster program in the works, so certainly they've been very, very active. All of our departments are. Fleet management, just moving the needle forward with regards to some of the electric transformation. We've got electric hybrids and alternately fueled vehicles. You've also got, I know there were some things in the sheriff's department that took place, and then Cobb County Fleet ranked in the top 50 leading fleets in the country. So I always love the statistics where we're leading the way in different categories. Fleet management had 3 team members to receive certifications as bio-based fleet professionals from the American Lung Association as well. So they've been very proactive, they're trying to be proactive in that space. IS, I don't know if, yeah, there we go. Ken.
Good evening, I'm Kimberly Lindley. I'm the CIO for Cobb County, and we are an enterprise IT department for the county. So that means we support the entire network that all of these wonderful department heads, all their staff run off of: servers, applications, voice communications, and we do partner with all of the departments on implementing the technology to help them accomplish their goals. So we're very, very busy bunch, but for accomplishments, one of the first things I want to talk about that we did last year that I submitted to the commissioner that I think is important for you to know is that we held our first annual Cybersecurity event day last year in October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and it was for just county employees. However, I wanted you to know it because I want you to know that we take cybersecurity very seriously at the county and protecting county data, which ends up being some of your data. So it is very important that we always have cybersecurity at the forefront of everything that we do. We even test our employees to make sure they're not falling for any scams. I'm not the most liked person when we send out those phishing campaigns in the county, but it's for good, not for evil. Obviously, we want people to understand that it's serious. And if they fail a test, then they have to take some remedial training to make sure that they understand what they did wrong. So that's definitely something that we look to do this October in Cybersecurity Month, and we'll start planning that very soon. We also held our annual Community GIS Day event at Sewell Mill Library. That was on November 18th, and that's always in November. GIS Day is always a day in November. And that always gets a great response from the public attending, and of course we have a ton of GIS staff and analysts in the county because almost every system in the county ties into GIS. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's maps and spatial data. So there's a lot more to it than maps and spatial data, but just about every major system in the county interfaces with our GIS system. So when you see that coming out later this year, please join us and come learn about what some of our county staff do with GIS and why it's so cool, and why we have a day dedicated to it. For the updates from first quarter of this year, we completed a soft go live, and if any of you are in IT, you know that a soft go live means it wasn't widely advertised. Our communications director didn't put out a ton of information about it because we wanted to do a soft go live of the CRM 311 system for the county to give us a chance to work out the bugs and some kinks that we have. And so 311, everybody knows what 311 is. You dial 311 to get information. Well, when you do that in Cobb County, you're calling Ross's department, and he may be speaking today. I don't want to steal all of his thunder if he's speaking, but it's his department, and so they answer the calls, and they get any number of calls. I mean, it's a wide range of random questions. So up until February, they have not really had a good way to track those calls and give our commissioners stats on what's coming in from various districts. If people will give their information and their address, we'd love to share that information with the commissioners, and so they understand what's happening in their district in terms of calls for information. So we've implemented this system, and we're working through several issues, and once we're ready to really hit the ground running and market it, Ross is going to do a big marketing campaign, and you'll hear a lot more about it. In conjunction with that, we also worked with Sustainability, Waste, and Beautification to give them a work order system. All of the garbage questions you're asking, when they get complaints about garbage service, they have not had a way to track those complaints other than just emails, spreadsheets, that kind of thing. So in conjunction with this, we implemented the work order system for them, and also a web portal for you to submit questions or complaints that go directly to that group's staff, and then they can respond. You'll get a ticket number, and then they can respond to you. So we have a grand vision for this 311 system, and we wanted to interface ultimately with Drew's system at DOT and work orders for his office, possibly water. So it's going to take a little while. We've got a lot of work to do, but that's our vision, and so we're very excited about implementation of that. And then some upcoming projects that we have. Back in 2020, the board approved a unified court case management system. So that's for our whole entire court system. And we have gone live on our probate court system. That was back in June of last year. And our next courts to go live on this are state court and magistrate court, their civil divisions. It's going to give us, obviously, the efficiency of the whole court system being on one system. That's going to be super efficient compared to all these different systems that they had been working on. But there's also going to be some features for the public in terms of the online presence and viewing calendars and looking at various court information. So we're excited about that. That's supposed to go live later this summer, probably in the August timeframe. And then back in the 2016 SPLOST, voters approved a new data center for the county. The one we have been working in was about 30 years old. So we have been working on this project for quite some time, but we are finally ready to get moved in there. We've been migrating all of our applications over to the new data center. Obviously, data centers aren't as common anymore. A lot of things go to the cloud, so our footprint is a lot smaller than what our existing data center is. But by June, we should have all of our applications migrated over, and then by the end of the year, we'll be completely out with all the infrastructure. And then everybody can fight over that space that we have, because it's prime real estate where it currently is. And then the last thing I want to talk about for our future, many of you have heard about the county strategic plan that the board is looking to hopefully approve maybe in the May timeframe. Well, one thing that we did later, like sometime last year, I can't remember when the board approved it, but we purchased a strategic plan management software. So basically, with a strategic plan, a lot of times people just get a document, a paper document, you should sit it on the shelf. You might pull it out and look at it, but you don't really, it's not a living, breathing document. So this plan management software is allowing us to put our countywide strategic plan into this software. And then we can also link all of our departmental strategic plans. We can link Jessica's Unified Development Code in there. We can link Drew's transportation plan in there, and they can all be tied into the countywide strategic plan, where we update our goals electronically. At any point, the commissioners can look at it and see where we're at on certain projects within departments. And then the best part about it for you is there's going to be a public-facing side of it, where you can see, you'll have more transparency into all of the different departmental plans, our goals, when we accomplish our goals. So we're really excited about that. We're probably going to go live later this summer. We haven't set the date yet, but we're very close to being able to implement a couple of our plans. Of course, we've got to get our strategic plan approved first, but after that, we'll be able to set it go live. So we're very excited about that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Could you speak a minute about how robust your cybersecurity is? How often have you hacked? Have you ever been successfully hacked?
We have not been hacked per se. We've had some phishing attempts where credentials have been stolen. That I think is probably pretty common. That led to an entry into our email system. We were able to stop that pretty quick, but we had to do a lot of ramping up to after that. And so when that happened, it was in 2021, I think. I'm trying to remember the date. Sometimes the years run together. But before that happened, so that's been the biggest event as me as the director. Before that happened, we had one person dedicated, 1.5 people dedicated to cybersecurity. Definitely not enough. So after that event, and email was off and on, up and down for a few days, we were able to recover, but I was able to go to the commissioners and ask, can we get a dedicated staff for cybersecurity? And I'm so fortunate that they approved that request, and we have a team of 5 with a manager, so a team of 6 people that are dedicated to just monitoring our network and monitoring for threats. We have probably about 7-8 layers deep. We call it our defense in-depth strategy. So there's various layers of cybersecurity. From the end user side, obviously that's a big problem because people do fall for scams. But to the more technical side too, where we've purchased lots of tools. Again, the board has been so gracious in giving us funding and supporting all of our cybersecurity efforts. So I'm so thankful for that, that we have been able to get their support. But we're constantly monitoring, and we also, like I said, do the education to the end users to try to make sure that they understand how important it is. And I could tell you some of the tools, but I don't want to give away all our secrets. So, but we do have a lot of, we have a very good cybersecurity budget that we're fortunate to get. We get that money every year to support any new technologies that we need.
I think you just answered it, but just basically without ransomware.
Yes.
I guess that falls under breach.
Yeah, and yeah, no, we've not had any ransomware attack. Don't jinx us, but yeah, we've been very fortunate. So go ahead.
I'm glad you're doing so well with the cybersecurity.
Thank
I live
you.
on Tower Ferry across the street from Governor's Bridge Business Park.
Mhm.
About 10 years ago, one of the buildings got a firewall. I go to Firewall Park, town hall meetings, and said, you guys have any idea who did it? There was a picture they put on local TV of somebody running through the parking lot, but they don't know who did it. Has anybody come up with any information on who firewalled the women's clinic, Governor's Ridge on Tower Ferry?
I would have to defer to the police department on that. I do not know that. The women's clinic on Powers Ferry, you said?
I felt that as a reporter, I can tell you the answer is no.
Sorry.
We get a police fireball and 10 years later, all anybody knew.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I was not aware of that, so.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
It's okay, it's okay. I mean, actually, that was wise. Come on. Senior services, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. So, thank you for first having us here and being here with the commissioner, hearing all the updates. So, by show of hands, how many people here actually know everything that senior services does? Oh, come on, I know there's some people here. Okay, one hand back there, two, okay, very good. So senior services actually does a lot of things, and that's why we're here, is to tell people more about us and inform you of all the things that we do. I would say at senior services, first and foremost, we are connectors. We connect people. Yes, we do provide services and programs for adults 55 plus in Cobb County. But really, first, we actually are there to bring people together, okay? We, at our 7 locations, 7 senior centers throughout Cobb, have different programs, and we just want people to get together, to get to know each other. We build a sense of community, and so I hope that you will, if you have not already, go visit the center that is closer to you or it's in your district. We also are collaborators. We work with pretty much all of the departments, in the county. And a lot of the programs that I have listed in our updates, are collaborations with those departments. For example, the first one that I put on here, I said we ended the summer with a big splash at the Seven Springs Water Park. And that was in collaboration with Parks. We couldn't have done that had it not been for our Parks Department, and shout out to them. Because that day, the park was closed and it was only open for senior services. So we had an amazing time. We are going to go back. It's an annual event. We also had the Senior Day of the Fair at Jim Miller Park. So that, again, thanks to our Parks Department. In the month of November, that was mainly the month that we wanted to give thanks and make sure that our older community members that had food insecurity and were in need of food for the holidays, they got that. So we have a wonderful, wonderful group of volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer with us, please let us know. We're always looking for more volunteers. But we went throughout the county and we made sure, obviously we do have a Meals on Wheels program. So we serve, I don't know, about 500 to 600 older adults every year. We bring food, to their homes. But in addition to that, we also have some community events, and we distribute food that way. Then we really, veterans are very near and dear to heart, and we have a program that's called Veteran Connection. And so if you know of anybody or if you are yourself a veteran, please come to those meetings. Those are to connect people that have had similar experiences, that can share, that can learn a lot from each other. We have great speakers. We have trips that are designed specifically for veterans. And I'm very proud to say that this past year, in November, was the first year with the help of the board that we had the first Cobb County green light for veterans. So we lit up different buildings throughout the county green for the week of veterans, for the entire week of Veterans Day. And we showed appreciation for all the veterans and everybody that has served, our country. So we say thank you to you, and thank you again to the board for allowing us to do that. December was also a busy month because that's when we have our Santa's Elves for Seniors program, and that's when we deliver really just small gifts, but to older community members who are alone. So there's a lot of folks out there that do not have family close up. They just are alone, and had not been for our elves, they would celebrate the holidays alone. So we are happy, to do that every year. And it is also a time of celebration for us, because all of our staff at Senior Services, we put on our elves hats and we go around the county and do that. The month of December was a busy month, but for some different reasons. Unfortunately, on Christmas Eve, we had at 2 of our senior centers, pipes burst, the sprinkler systems, due to the very cold weather that we had back then for several days in a row. We were in the teens, right? And so we had the West Cobb Senior Center didn't sustain as much damage. It was closed for a little bit, but then we were able to partially open, and we were able to do the repairs. And of course, again, thanks to our property department, it's not Senior Services, right? So again, a collaboration with them. They've been fantastic. And we opened that center up in about 3 weeks. Well, the Fremont Pool Senior Center in South Cobb, here, not too far away from here, actually was closed for 3 whole months. And that center, if you, perhaps you've actually seen it on the news, we had about 3-4 inches of water everywhere. We had to rip out all the floors, walls, you name it. There was quite extensive damage over there. And so we were very, very happy. I mean, cannot say enough about our property department. They have worked so hard to get us reopened, fast. And so finally, at the end of March, we were able to reopen. The center looks fantastic. Again, if you've not been there, please come and visit us. We have a lot of different programs, and I have brought just a few little handouts. I'm going to leave them at the end, at the table in the back, just to give you an idea of all the different things that we do as Senior Services, right? So at the different centers, we have a lot of recreational programs, right? We are all about having fun first,
We are all about health and wellness, so you will see a lot of different exercise classes. We have hiking clubs at different centers, and we really meet everybody at their level of independence, right? So you may think, well, gee, that sounds wonderful, but I'm not a hiker. And so what happens then? Well, we have anything from chair yoga and Tai Chi and, lower impact type exercises that are so very important though, to keep people moving and as we all go through the aging process to make sure that we, our health is where it needs to be. For the first quarter, all right, so who has not heard about pickleball? Come on, y'all, I know you've heard about pickleball because it's apparently the next great thing, and everybody's wanting to, play pickleball. And so our other partnership with parks is we have been having pickleball mixers. They're for individuals of different levels. So even if you have not ever played, you can come join us and learn. And we are going to have our annual, now it's the second, we've only had first one last year, the Big Deal Pickleball Mixer, and that's going to be on April 12th from 10 to 12, and it's going to be at Shaw Park. So if you have any interest in that, if you just want to see it, come. I'm sorry? No, I'm sorry, May. I wrote it down wrong. Yeah, no, we didn't have it yet without you. I'm sorry. May, yes. So at the beginning of this quarter, we had our registration session for the spring quarter, and I will say that, again, please check us out. Our website is cobbseniors.org. And you will see the variety of classes and different things that we have going on. We have cooking classes, art classes, health and wellness classes, all sorts of things. So for the first quarter of this year, in 7 minutes, all classes were full, okay? 7 minutes, that's all it took for all the classes to fill up. So a lot of people, like the things that we do, but we always are looking for new things. And so if you have any ideas for any programs that we are not currently providing, please let us know that. Throughout the month of February, of course, we're celebrating Black History Month with different events. And we do have a lot of things like we routinely have a coffee with a cop. And we partner with our fire department and our police department where they come and speak. I know we've had the SWAT, team come and talk. We've had the K-9 unit come and talk. And I know Mike Richardson, you're back there. And so he's coming, to talk to us again. All right, at the end of this quarter, well, at the beginning, so we brought back Miss Senior Services pageant. That's a lot of fun as well. All of our participants get to really showcase, their talents. And so we want people to feel welcome and also, again, have that sense of community and have fun with all of us. And we have had our famous Senior Services Lip Sync Battle. So again, if you've not heard of this event, you should check it out because it's a lot of fun, okay? Also, some Senior Services staff, but then participants battled it out for this event. I have to say that Dr. John Gibson's assistant, Grace, she's actually the one that won. She did a fantastic job. And we all had a good time. I'm not going to say a lot more, just want to say, some upcoming projects. I invite everybody to come to our expo. Our annual expo is going to be at the Civic Center. It is going to be on May 17th not April, May. And it's going to be very big. I mean, we have over 100 different vendors that are providing a variety of services, for our community members that are 55 and plus. So if it's not for you and it's for a loved one and you're interested in knowing more about what services and programs are out there, please come check us out at that event. We will have all of our units there. I did not mention we do have a human services division. So in addition to all these recreational things that I've told you, we have a whole division that takes care of things like providing transportation, which is crucial in the county. We have providing congregate meals at the senior center. We have case management. We have in-home services like personal care. We have caregiver services. So a little bit of respite care for folks that care for a loved one at home. We, of course, deliver Meals on Wheels to people, and we have a fantastic community health education program that has a lot of assistive technology, and we teach a lot of classes, like A Matter of Balance. It's all about fall prevention. There's another one that's new that it's called Bingo Size. So again, we're mixing fun, which, kind of play on bingo, but while we're exercising. And so we at Senior Services are all about how does aging look for each one of us? A little different, right? Not two of us are the same, but we are here to say, we're here for everyone to support you in aging successfully. So thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Thinking on you because you had it happen twice. I've lived in Cobb County a long time. And you can always tell what's been constructed since the last time the weather went to zero, because all that broken pipes. My question is, what's the county doing to audit so that we prevent rather than wait till we have these breaks because of construction that's never been supervision?
That is a very good question. And actually, again, I will give a shout out to our property management department. They have done extensive work to not only correct, the issues in repair, but prevent things from happening again. So they have put a lot of things in place. They've worked very closely with the sprinkler company and have done modifications so that if anything were to happen, a flood like that would not happen again. I know that the county, somebody help me that knows more about this, but I know the county overall is looking at auditing the different buildings that the county has and, shoring things up so things like this wouldn't happen again, so. Yes, sir.
I should have added an extra sentence. I'm talking about Governor's Ridge on Howard Surrey Road, across the street from the Wells Fargo Bank and the Wildwood Office Park. It was roughly 10 years ago. I exit the office park every day, and there'd be people across the street waving signs, 10, 12, 14 people protesting the existence of a woman's health clinic. And Cobb being Cobb, I'm sure that wasn't broadcast too much, but those are the kind of folks who would firebomb a women's clinic, and Cobb County being Cobb County. I don't remember we had a state representative, state senator, or commissioner at that time that even brought it up. Because I don't think they found anything wrong with it. Also, it was bad public relations.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I cannot speak to that, unfortunately. That didn't have anything to do with senior services, but if there's no more questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is anyone here from Parks? Because you're going to close us out on the county side, and we have a whole lot more to get through, so. Yes.
right, good evening. I'm Mario Henson. I'm the Services Division Manager with Cobb Parks. And as the Commissioner said, I'll go ahead and close you out. Pretty much for Parks, we continuously stay busy during the fourth quarter. I'll touch on some of the highlights from the fourth quarter. Over at Hyde Farm, our natural resources partnered with the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Food Bank, where they came out and actually sent volunteers from the Atlanta Braves. One of the players, Travis Garneau, came out, planted 100 fruit trees at Hyde Farm, and we were very appreciative of that. We completed, the splash project is completed over at East Cobb Park, where we completed the 190-foot restoration creek bank at East Cobb Park. Also, Walton Youth Football, third grade team, we're proud of them. They won the third grade Super Bowl champs, so we're very proud of those athletes. Also, from the Walton Youth Football Association, their fourth grade team were the Super Bowl champ runner-up, so we're proud of them as well. Within the services division, we hosted over at Sewell Art Center, we hosted our first glass blowing class over at Sewell Mill Art Center. So that was the first over at Sewell Mill where we did glass making of pumpkins. So that was pretty fun for us and exciting. Moving on to the first quarter of this year, very proud to say that we had our opening days at our Phillips Park, Ryan Park, and Sewell Park for baseball and softball. We installed a new pavilion over at the Sewell Park and also did some tree planting there. We installed new lights at the batting cages at Ryan Park. Also, we did a spring cleanup at Trolley Line Park, which included pruning of trees, shrubs, and adding pine straw. Over on the services division side, something that we're very proud of, they hosted, did an art gallery exhibit called I Am Woman exhibit, celebration of women artists, which was actually featured on 11 Live News. So we're proud of that moment as well. Then upcoming events that we have, we're gearing up for our summer programs. As we like to say in Parks, it is grass cutting season. So a lot of our operation guys are out making sure that we keep the beautification and the landscaping of the parks looking nice. In the services division, we're gearing up for our summer camps and our nature camps over at Phillips Park and at Sewell Mill Art Center. To date, these summer camps have filled up. We only have a few spots open over at Fair Oaks Recreation Center, and we have some spots in our therapeutic recreation camp. So we're just gearing up for our busy season for the spring and summer season. So, all right, any questions? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I moved here from Ohio in the late eighties. Former commissioners said, we don't need parks here, nobody uses them. I'm glad Cobb is forward thinking in line with just my opinion. I love our parks because parks bring money. It's a green space such as Marietta Square, when people from all backgrounds, all ages, everybody can relax, bring their family or bring themselves, then we will spend money. And I will not live in DeKalb, Fulton, anywhere else. I am proud to call Marietta in Cobb County my home. And thank you for being forward thinking with green space and parks, because we need that. We don't need all these high rises. We need to keep that in balance with building and parks. Thank you for your time.
I'm interested in what you had to do at East Cobb Park because of the issue of stormwater. What was the damage and what did you do to remediate it?
So the SWAT team came in and it was, how can I explain it? The bank was eroding. So there was an erosion problem. So we fixed the erosion problem that was on the creek bank. It was a process. I can't explain exactly the process. Our SPLOST team worked on it and actually had some outside contractors, but I do know that they were able to complete and where there will be no erosion in the area.
Stabilize the banks.
Yes.
Maybe Ross can do a video on it.
We have some pictures. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is Cobb Park responsible for sort of common in the county?
Some areas, yes.
Do you know anything about what's happening down in Oakville? I thought they were going to start at Nectar Park down there.
I can get some information for you to make sure that I find out for you. Yes, sir.
We're gonna talk about Silver Common. When I first got here in '95, it was just under construction. I took one look at it and I said, this is a beautiful place for a mass transit line from Powder Springs into Atlanta. And I mentioned it to folks, and they just stare at me, you go, what the hell are you talking about? I said, there are trains on tracks going from point A to point B, happens all over the country. And there was a gentleman running against Bob Barr. Last time Bob Barr was running for Congress. And he was from Cedartown. And I said, this would be a great place for you to realize. I was about 80 years old at the time. He just stared at me and stared at me. And then he said, I remember when I was a kid, my folks would get on the train in the morning, we'd ride to Atlanta, go to Macy's, go to the movies, then come back all in one day. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm gonna miss the Silver Common. They're gonna use it for other things. Cobb and other places had opportunity to turn that into a beautiful mass transit system. Now we've got roads that are clogged, because I used to live in Powder Springs, and he couldn't get anywhere in Powder Springs because of congestion. This is just a wonderful idea I had. All of my
Duly noted. Thank you. All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for all of county staff, just the amazing job. And it's just a sample of the work that's going on in the county. And yes, these are your dollars at work. So if you ever have any questions about anything, how it's being spent, or where it's going, or why it's going, or when it's going, whatever, email the office. We'll help demystify some of it if we can. So, priorities revealed. I'm going to stall you all one more time. What's the progress? What have we accomplished? Because last year we also had a priorities reveal. I'm not going to go through everything. There are just some things that I'll list out here. So MSPLOS planning is in full effect. The decision will be coming to you all on how you want to proceed with the MSPLOS, the T-SPLOS conversations, and what all of the cities are looking to do and accomplish with regards to transportation and transit. We know that there are some discrete needs around the county. We just have to determine as a community how we want to approach or tackle those particular needs. So if you're interested in more information there, feel free to reach out, be a part of that conversation. Stormwater utility fee reviews, Judy mentioned it earlier. That study is ongoing. Jim, you've been a very big advocate on that side. But certainly the stormwater utility is just a recalibration of how the funding is oriented for the county to do improvements around stormwater or to invest in stormwater. It does not increase or decrease anything. It could be net zero. But it is an opportunity as well for us to discuss what additional services or expectations we have on the water department with regards to this area. So those are two different conversations we're having that fall underneath the stormwater utility. If you're interested in that, you can get plugged in, but the research and the effort is ongoing and should be concluding within the next few months or so. HMT renewal approval, I'm sure there's a corner over there that's pretty happy about that. That we're going to be seeing some major renovations take place with regard to our conference center. It's going to help us be more competitive in the area and in the region for conferences and trade shows and all the things that help stimulate economic development in our area and tourism. This is a way in which that entity is able to continue to do the work that they do right now to maintain that facility, but also take the proper investments, make the proper investments for the future. Funding for library initiative in Oakdale. Yes, a new library is coming. Yes, there will be a conversation in the community about what that entails. Yes, this is tied to the library initiative that we talked about at the very beginning of this particular term as commissioner. So this will be a pilot program related to that particular initiative, but it's a library already. It's just a matter of how we want to play with that one, and that's in the West Village area. Funding for Hyde Farm Park renovation in East Cobb. This is going to be a beautiful investment. Certainly they had some things that needed to be fixed at that location, but we are going to expand the usage a little bit to also be a farmer's market, since there are things being grown in the area. There's a community garden component to that property. So you will be able to utilize that space as both an event center and go pick up something fresh. Funding for the Pocket Park in East Cobb. You asked the question about what's going on, whoever asked, with Woodlawn. Yes, that's what's going on. Pocket Park. Funding for the Chattahoochee Trail project. Not trail. So, yes, the trail system, as you know, if you go to any of the board meetings, chances are you're going to see us approve something related to this project. Why? Because there's so many different parts to it and so many different approvals and studies related to it, because it's a massive investment that is multi-jurisdictional. So this is also happening. Rehabilitating bus stops on Powersbury Corridor. Got a lot of complaints. There's no lighting, there's no shelter, they're kind of falling apart, people use them. It's not really that friendly for ADA. So there's going to be an entire renovation on that high usage corridor in that area. Expanded Cobb Police Department and Cobb Public Health co-response units. That partnership. So yes, Cobb Douglas Public Health, they actually partner with our Cobb PD to make sure that we have mental health experts assisting in some of these calls. And it has been, from what I understand, extremely effective in pilot, so much so that additional funding went towards it this time around. So, yay. Cobb Workforce Development Expansion, and they really stepped up to do a lot, especially with Gritters. Gritters is outside of our district, but we are so grateful that it is funded. And they actually utilized the $1 million that was allocated out of the ARPA dollars, which were the American Rescue Plan Act dollars that were appropriated to the county. They are situating themselves inside of Gritters in order to maximize that dollar usage so that that library will have the economic development component and employment workforce development component incorporated into the library itself. But certainly there's been investment into the efforts that they are taking on. It's been very broad across the board. Home business ordinance, during all of those code amendments, we had some really hot topics that were taking a lot of the air, but there was someone that called and said, I really just want to be able to have some candles that I keep in my house because I want to do a mailer business and ship them out, but the code stops me, and I think I'm not the only one that it stops from having a successful home-based business. So we did update the code as well, so now you can actually store inventory where you're only mailing it out, right? So not where someone comes and buys from your location, because that would be commercial. This is where you're able to mail out things to other people. Broadband investment, certainly a lot fell into this bucket.
I live in a condo when I moved in. I got 2 doors down, had his business out of his condo. He had guns and he sent different places. Are they covered?
So that would be under a totally different set of rules, but this just allows for, understood. Thank you. For the broadband investment, it is making sure that we are investing in broadband. We certainly have some critical areas around the county that need that additional investment. ARPA dollars we're able to utilize for that. But there are some really interesting projects that are on the horizon, even for our area as well. And hopefully by the Q3 town hall, I might be able to give a little bit more detail on what's going on with that. Veterans Pod, so thank you. It was a collaboration across the county, the courts, cabinet member Dan for my Veterans Affairs seat, and Sheriff's Office to make sure that there was a separate area dedicated to our veterans who are incarcerated, because the situations, the circumstances that sometimes occur that create that outcome are unique in nature. And so there's a rehabilitation component to that as well. And we wanted to make sure that that the veterans that were incarcerated really understood that we cared. And so we were looking to close out with a mural. And the muralist somehow found us. She wanted to paint a mural underneath a bridge, and reached out to the office. And she said, yeah, I'm a veteran. I really want to paint. I want to show my skills. And we said, well, we have another project for you that we think would be better. And she jumped at the opportunity and painted it was a very emotional unveiling. And the veterans that were in that space, it was incredibly emotional. And it told the true story of what our veterans experience and go through. And it's a very complex journey, so definitely that. Connecting Cobb Veterans Database. This is something that was funded with regards to the ARPA dollars. We know that there is a huge connectivity issue related to all the different services for our veterans. And so making sure that we are coordinating with the state as well. They have their Veterans Affairs Department, and that that funding could funnel down, because Cobb has a significant portion of veterans in the state that live here. We wanted to make sure that that data could be shared across all of those different service providers so they could be more streamlined and more effective, and that we could get to, and that data could actually be used for other outlets. So we have other potential opportunities by having a consolidated database that we can apply those points of reference for. So you can go to a kiosk, right? In the future state, if you have this nice catalog of where a bed might be open, or where you might be able to get a ride or use an Uber coupon, or whatever it may be, by having that consolidated database, you can now utilize it for a lot of other things in a very streamlined manner. Let's see, first aid training for students. Yep, that one. There were quite a few students that partook in that effort, partnering with Cobb PD, Fire, and just getting them a quick lesson on life-saving techniques. And I heard that the schools gave them some extra credit for actually attending and participating. So we decided we wanted to give out certificates as well, just to acknowledge them taking their time out of the day to do so. Last year, guys, there were cityhood movements last year. All that happened. And certainly the cityhood effort did not prevail, but what it really did do was allow for an opportunity for so many new faces and voices to get engaged and involved in the community, in the government process. And so my commitment was that I would hold town halls, that there would be opportunities for people to discuss, that we would work with making sure that accurate information was there, that staff really stepped up to the plate to do all the due diligence to understand what as best as we could, the ramifications of some of these things, so that you could be empowered with making that decision when you went to go vote. So that is what made it up here on the list, is that commitment was kept. The Creative Placemaking Committee, that also happened. Holly's here. Really awesome initiative. We have a lot of different unique arts communities throughout the district, and honestly throughout the county, but this is District 2, throughout the district, and wanted to find a way where we could embrace that aspect into our community and make sure that those communities were understood from an investment standpoint. So the Creative Placemaking Committee was created in order to help make sure that we are thinking holistically about our different communities, so that investments, whether they be federal dollars or state dollars or county dollars, can go as far as possible, and they can combine their efforts. And yes, sir?
You skip election impact.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what that one was. I might come back to it, and I don't have notes in front of me. No, I don't. I know. I can't remember exactly what it was tied to. There are a bunch of things related to elections, but for this slide, I can't recall what the progress was. I'd have to go back. You got me, sir. Yeah.
There were a lot of top 10 residents that have been disenfranchised by county commissioners changing the district lines, according not only what the state said they were going to be. Many people voted for someone else, that you're their commissioner.
So,
by what the commissioners.
Fair question. I know that there's a lot of, this is an hour-long conversation, but what I will say is, for those that voted, all the individuals that you have voted for in your elections are currently serving as commissioners on the board. And that was the main priority of what was attempted to be kept intact.
Anything else would be counter to that. So I'm happy, and it's in the FAQs as well, so I'll share a little bit, but I want to make sure I'm respectful for all of our speakers that are lined up for this, because like I said, this right here is an hour-long conversation.
Yeah, I know, I agree with you. But what I understand, you're trying to use something called home rule to.
Yeah, and there's a lot of constitutional background I
obey
can
the law.
provide for that as well, so it's, and
Well,
that's.
as far as the Constitution goes, I have read the Constitution, and it says the home rule may not be used for election.
Right, so it's not my position to debate on the Constitution itself, but what I can share is that it was a constitutional provision. And like I said, it is a much longer conversation. I am more than happy to answer, break down, et cetera, hear, listen, all the things. But I want to be respectful, like I said, for all of the other speakers that are here, because it's a rabbit hole of a conversation. Okay, thank you. I understand. And then the last piece was no millage rate. Yeah,
I'm not happy with the flip side. We both have.
Yeah.
It's balance, everything is balance. So no millage rate increase on the budget. The only thing that happened with the millage rate, well, not the millage rate, but the only thing that happened was that, so the parks bond retired, and then the fire fund went up about comparable in that amount. So basically, we flatlined for your taxes, and if you have a homestead, it definitely flatlined. If you are not under the senior tax exemption, then yeah, you would have seen an increase on the school tax side, but I did just want to give an update on that piece for anyone that has questions about the budget. There is another initiative that's tied to this though, called the Taxpayer's Receipt, where you'll be able to actually play with the numbers yourself and explore it. Yes, and then we'll have to move forward because it's not meant to be Q&A.
Back in the Bob days, he would bring along the tax guy from the out of town. I'd ask him, is there some way you can set up taxes such that somebody could scroll through it and see who pays the most taxes, the least taxes? It would be interesting if we had the richest guy in Cobb County taking the senior tax exemption. Right now, we don't know who's doing what, and they refuse to make any changes or work towards that result.
Okay, noted. It's not necessarily something that we're pursuing, but I can understand your
They weren't
interest.
pursuing it back then because they did not want to know the answer.
All right, so priorities, guys. The first one that came up, this one actually was the top ranked, is the Master Planning Initiative. Show of hands if anyone even understands what that means here. Excellent, excellent. So the Master Planning Initiative, anyone familiar with the Vining's Vision? Show of hands. All right, we've got a couple of takers. I love it. Vining's Vision is a beautiful master plan. It's basically a community's full throttle right to be able to help design and understand and project out what they would like to see in their community over time. And you heard about the efforts going on with the UDC. So she mentioned that we have some small area plans. Anyone familiar with the JOSH small area plan? This one I'll go back to. Anyone familiar with the JOSH small area plan? Right, those are guidelines, okay? They are not enforceable, but through discretion, okay? And anything that contradicts property rights also goes down that rabbit hole. So with the Master Planning Initiative, by creating master plans, we put ourselves in the position where we can codify those plans, and they become a part of our development code, along with architectural guidelines and so on and so forth. So this is a journey. The Master Planning Initiative is actually a journey for the community. We have a lot of distinct areas all throughout the district. This is going to be exciting for you, your neighbors, to be able to partake and come up with different things. Now, that could mean no plan at all that you come up with. And then there's some areas that are looking for some real needs to be addressed. Well, you have the opportunity to do that collectively as a community. And as your commissioner, I'm standing on the idea of enforcing that by codifying it.
And not just codifying it, but as a part of that effort, we'll also figure out how to make sure that there are funding strategies tied to it. So the findings vision is a beautiful vision that the community had derived several years ago, in 2011. But there are a lot of different projects that are still just sitting on the shelf. And that's because it's not tied to a direct bucket or plan of implementation. So with these master plans, we'll also be doing that so that when we say, oh, we want this park or we want to expand here, it's in the plan. It's in the plan. So that's what that is. It's going to be coming up then. This was, like I said, the top rate, so congrats. Justice for All, also very high up. This is additional funding for public safety, strategic retention and recruiting measures for all areas of public safety. To reducing recidivism in conjunction with COP court system, improve access to legal representation for civil matters, and inclusion and expansion of mental health considerations in public safety. So, yay. For the people, so this is all about the transparency and connectivity and communication that we try to put forth at the office. So increasing access to elected officials and the commissioner's office, internship programs, and then other employment programs, cabinet, and annual reviews and progress reports. So all of these things, there are a lot of things that fall under before the people agenda. And anyone that's ever, how many of you all actually looked at the policy, the listing of all the things? There are over 200 items in that list. So hopefully you'll find something you resonate with under each of these policy areas. But I tried to summarize them for you. This one was the next one, building better Cobb. Everybody say stormwater. That's what this is about. Measures to improve stormwater management, comprehensive infrastructure investments in broadband, and comprehensive and traceable site inspections. Why? Because that's always a point of contention as well. Is, did the builder actually do what we told them to do? Home and Cobb. This one's going to be fun. As a community. This is tough, this is complex stuff. Because a home in Cobb means something different for different communities, right? The needs are unique. You have some communities where downsizing is a problem, right? Especially in our senior community. You have some communities where there is no inventory. I can't find a place to live. You have some that, well, I'm paying an arm and a leg to live somewhere, but I gotta go to the hospital every week or every month because there's mold all over the place, and there's nothing I can do about it. There are all types of unique situations. But I believe that we can solve complex things if we don't settle for the simple solutions. So we have to dig in and figure out how we want to move forward in some of these areas. So part of this is rolling out an affordable housing task force. In addition to considerations of policy that improve conditions around the current housing stock, and housing policies that can accommodate future growth and strike a balance with our future land use plan. So, all right. And lastly, fiscal Cobb. These are the ones that made it to the top. So if you wanted to see something else on there, maybe you should got some more friends to fill out the stuff. Fiscal Cobb. Now I will put this in here. Just because these are the priorities does not mean that I'm not working on the other things. Why? Because they are real needs and people ask for real things. These are just the priorities that I'm going to be focused on as an office with our community initiatives, with our community task forces, for us to help propel these conversations. This is the tough stuff. So fiscal Cobb, additional transparency on funding and taxes, ensuring most efficient route to accomplish service delivery. We're going into negotiations right now on our 10-year update with all of our cities in the county. That's going to have an impact. How we negotiate service delivery, whether or not we have other efficiencies we can find. Identifying cost savings partnerships. Sales tax reformation. This is something I'm hoping we can get down. Long-term planning to increase funding resiliency. Right? No one wants to spend money that is a recurring cost under the guise that it's a one-time cost, right? We have to be smarter about how we spend that dollar and plan a little bit better. So that's fiscal Cobb. Well done, y'all. Congratulations on picking your priorities. Clap for yourselves. Honorable mention, and I do have the zip codes that tie to where you have like a more pronounced showing for some of those different priorities. But honorable mention, Mobility Cop, Economic Development, and Dobbin Strong. Okay, honorable mention. There's a lot in these too. There's a lot in all of them, but certainly worth the note. And then I always like to just remind everyone about the community issues that I believe are still near and dear. I tried to separate them out, but this is what really comes up as well. Kind of those one-off emails that aren't really tied to a major initiative, but it's a community issue, or it's a real pain or concern or thing that we kind of have to figure out, how do we approach that? So we've got code enforcement issues, lighting districts. I'm happy to say we have an initiative tied to this. So we actually just did an entire mapping of all of the lighting districts, because the way that lighting districts even happen is the community has to ask for it and get a petition done. So we're trying to be a little bit proactive, look at where is it dark, and then go to the community and say, do you want lighting? So it's a little bit of a different approach. Gun safety. It comes up all the time. Site inspections. I mentioned that one earlier, so hopefully we can make some improvements here. Racing and speeding, show of hands. Yeah, okay. Intersection safety. And then previously, some of the things that kind of have tapered off a little bit are the major zoning decisions. So we've kind of gotten through some of the big ones. Short-term rentals, that one's tapered off as well. You heard the update from ComDev. Increase in violent crime, that one's tapered off as well. We saw that uptick right after COVID, but that has really decreased significantly. Controversial business operations. I know, I did my best. and animal services. You know, that one still comes up a little bit, but it's tapered off a little bit as well. So did want to just note these are the things that come up, and I don't want you, if these are issues that resonate with you, don't feel alone. There are many other people in your community that bring these up. So, how do you guys feel about the priorities for this year? Are we ready to get to work? I love it. Yes?
I know it's not Q&A, and I apologize. Can you go back on the screen, please?
Yeah.
If there were anybody in here that was so moved by any of the items that you have up there, that they actually want to volunteer to be either kept in the loop, or even participate, or even volunteer to pass on the end of that, how do they get a hold of the right people?
You see how happy I'm getting? There are so many ways. No, truthfully, you can email the office, and my calendar is open to the public, so you're welcome to schedule time with me. But emailing the office, we'll get you in connection. You just let us know what you're interested in. And if you go to the policy document for each policy area, it'll actually tell you what email to use. And that will go directly to one of the cabinet members. And so I'm actually about to make everybody stand up, who's an elected official and all the things. So you'll get a chance to see their faces, and then certainly network with them after the event as well. So thank you for that question. All right, partner panel. While our partners are coming up to the stage here, I'm going to move some chairs. I would like for all of our elected officials who are here to please just stand up and wave at everybody. And then for those that are on the cabinet, please stand up as well. Some of you might say, well, what is the cabinet? The cabinet, those are people that you can just talk to about any idea, and we'll try to see if we can make it happen. That's what they do. All right, partners. Fantastic. Okay. And I know the sheriff, I did want to also shout out the sheriff's office. They also have a presence here as well. All right, so let's discuss. You guys almost did it. So I'm going to go through, we're just going to talk about the future. So we used to do a quick rundown where everyone gave an update. But we thought we'd do something a little different this time and just ask a few questions, let them talk amongst themselves, so you can actually see the dynamism that exists in this county. So I'm just going to go down the list really quickly and say who's here. We've got Holly Quinlan with Cobb Travel and Tourism. We have Irene Barton with Cobb Collaborative. We have Adam Ross with the Cumberland CID. And we have Sherry Martin with the Cobb Community Foundation. So let's get into the questions. What does your organization do?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So Cobb Travel and Tourism, we market Cobb County as a destination. And we do that through many different ways, whether that is bringing in different sporting events, conventions, trade shows, marketing, promoting. There are many different avenues that we look at our community, but we promote so many incredible things 365 days a year. And it's not just one area of the county, it's all areas of the county. And so it is very much from a hospitality tourism perspective, and how can we create economic impact for Cobb County. Thanks, Holly.
Good evening again. I'm Irene Barton with the Cobb Collaborative, and at the Collaborative, we are part of a statewide network called the Georgia Family Connection Partnership, and we work to improve outcomes for children and families in Cobb. We do that by focusing on 3 main initiatives: mental health, third grade reading proficiency, and civic engagement. We accomplish that work by convening cross-sector partners, so think law enforcement, elected officials, other nonprofits, government, judicial, to address these issues, to identify gaps in service, to lift up best practices, and then to bring programs and services and activities to the entire community.
Good evening, and thank you, Commissioner, for having us on the panel tonight. The Cumberland CID is a district here in Cumberland, and our primary audience, or our primary constituent, is commercial property owners. They pay a voluntary tax to us. We then use those tax dollars to leverage to go after more funding at the federal level and state level and our partners to build roads, bridges, and trails here in the Cumberland community. Our primary goal is to enhance commercial property values in the Cumberland area.
Thank you for having us, Commissioner. I'm Sherry Martin, and I am President and CEO of Cobb Community Foundation. We are a 501c3 charitable organization that exists to help everyone in and around Cobb County to thrive. And we do that by helping those who give and serve to give and serve with greater impact. We connect donors who care with causes that matter. We offer different charitable funds. In fact, we currently have about $25 million under our management now that is made up of charitable funds established by individuals, families, and businesses who want to be able to give charitably and do it effectively and efficiently, and also want to be made aware of what are the issues in Cobb. We work with many nonprofit organizations, including several that are sitting up here with me, and we work very closely with them to help hold their funds, make sure they are getting the most investment return for their dollars. But in addition to that, we are also helping to make sure that the folks in Cobb are aware of who they are and what they do and why. And lastly, we try to bring together change makers around issues that matter. Most recently, we've been focused, or are focused on actually looking at early learning and child care. So that's an issue that we're trying to bring some attention to.
Excellent. I probably should just walk with you guys. What is an example of collaboration that has occurred in the last year that benefited the community?
Well, let's see. We collaborated on One Cumberland, which is a nonprofit organization that's all about helping to improve the Cumberland area even more than what the CID can already do, and to fill in the gaps that the CID can't offer. One of the things that we're quite proud of is trying to bring services to local communities. So we've identified a number of communities in Cobb that need additional help as it may relate to housing or providing additional support for education.
So for example, at Green Acres Baptist Church on Pat Mel Road, we are funding the YMCA to provide what they call little school, which is in essence preschool for young ones who would not otherwise have the opportunity to attend preschool. And the end result of that is because of the learning supports that they are receiving through the YMCA's program, when those kids go to kindergarten, they will know how to get in a line. They will know what it means to come sit on the carpet. They'll know what it means to sit and listen, which means that not only are they going to be better able to learn and take in the knowledge that the teachers are sharing, everyone around them is going to be better able to learn as well.
Well, one of the purposes of the Cumberland CID is to enhance character in our district. And one of the exciting initiatives that we just completed are our Cumberland Girls. You may have noticed them here in Cumberland. That was a partnership with Georgia Department of Transportation. They actually had the right of way on the walls. And so we worked with them in order to establish that character on the walls, because again, we're here to establish a community where we're enhancing the community and where people want to live, work, and play. And that's one of the many initiatives that the Cumberland CID has going on. And thank you, Sherry, for mentioning One Cumberland. Cumberland CID is a government entity, and we have defined purposes in the Georgia Constitution. And so allowing One Cumberland will help us to bolster the work of the Cumberland CID in a bigger way, in order to engage the community like the Cumberland CID is not designed to do. But with having and engaging in that community, we wanted to even do further community enhancements here in the district to add value, like wall murals, possibly public art, and programming here in the community to get the community more engaged, more active, as Cumberland is becoming more of a community over the past few years. And I want to thank Holly for serving on the board of One Cumberland. She was a major role player in that, and we've been partnering with Cobb Travel and Tourism, the county, Sherry's organization, is really what it's all about.
So a little bit ago, the commissioner referenced Connecting Cobb Veterans, and that is a signature program of the Cobb Collaborative. And in terms of collaboration, boy, it has just been wonderful to see so many partners coming together to serve our veterans and to connect veterans with the services and the programs and the activities that they need and deserve. It has been a huge lift, and it continues to be a huge lift. So many people think that, a veteran just presents him or herself at the VA and gets everything that they need. And that is so far from the truth. There's so many people that we have worked with who have forgotten more than I will ever learn. But some of them are in this room here. They have guided us. But we are bringing together government, nonprofit, other faith communities, so many organizations that do serve veterans, so that we can very efficiently connect a veteran with the service. And I'll call it like case management light. Anybody can give a veteran a list of phone numbers to call for food, housing, healthcare, etc. But often that person may make a phone call and then not get a return phone call and just give up, right? For all kinds of reasons. And so we are going to hold their hand, we are holding their hand, and then we're doing follow-up to make sure, did you make your interview with that prospective employer? Did the doctor give you a call back? Oh, it's 6 weeks before you can get in to see a therapist. You need help sooner. Let's see what we can do. And the commissioner mentioned database, and so I have flyers from findhelpgeorgia.org that are a great resource if any of you are serving families, veterans, children in the community. Please come and see me, and I've got extras. I've just lost one of my pinwheels. One of the other collaborative efforts, we're just ending, or maybe we're halfway through, I don't know, it is still April, isn't it? Is Prevent Child Abuse Awareness Month, and we have collaborated with a bunch of different organizations. The pinwheel represents what childhood should be about: play and whimsy and fun, and not thinking about abuse and maltreatment. And so that's what the symbol of the pinwheel represents. And I noticed that there was a bunch on the corner here of the Boy Scout office. I do have a bunch of pinwheels as well, and lapel pins. Everybody in the Cobb DA's office is wearing a blue lapel
pin, the pinwheel, because they do such important work in keeping our children safe, Safe Path and other organizations. So it's in the name. That's what we do. We collaborate with other organizations to amplify the work and continue to improve those outcomes.
So at Cobb Travel and Tourism, there are so many ways that we collaborate and work, and it's a pleasure to work actually with all of these organizations and many of you. For a couple of examples of things that we have done, one is a partnership last year with Cobb Parks, where we have helped put signage up at different Cobb County Parks facilities where major sporting tournaments occur. Because many of us who have children or grandchildren who play sports, GPS can get you to the park, but how do you find the field? So really kind of reaching out and making sure that we can make that easier for not only our visitors, but also for our residents. Where is field 7? How do I get to field number 3? Making sure that that kind of connection happens. And then it was mentioned earlier with the Creative Placemaking Committee. We are so excited to be leading that initiative along with some great community partners like the Cumberland CID, because it's about how do we create senses of place and space within our community. And there are so many different areas within our community and none of them are the same. And so how do we really bring out that authentic, unique characteristics and make those connections? And we're really excited about those the murals and all of the different ways that we can really create unique spaces within Cobb County.
And what can people look forward to over the next quarter? And let's keep this one short.
Lots of exciting things are happening. I can tell you it is a very busy spring and summer season, particularly for youth sports. There are a lot of things going on. We actually just wrapped up this past weekend the BMX championship that happened down at Phosphorus Creek Park. But there, particularly in this district, East Cobb baseball, that is the home of travel baseball. And so there is going to be a lot of activity across this entire spring and summer season. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and not only in May, but throughout the year, we are going to be providing mental health first aid classes for all community members. So if you want to be a mental health first aider, think first aid from the physical standpoint to the mental health standpoint. But particularly we have classes scheduled for our first responders because we recognize the enormous burden that they have shouldered over the last 3 years and the stresses that come in regularly performing their job, never mind with a pandemic. And so mental health first aid for fire EMS, public safety, veterans, and other modules. So please check out our website, cobbcollaborative.org, if you would like to participate in any of those. They are free, thanks to Cobb County's ARPA funding grant.
So we don't have any major projects that are coming to fruition in the next quarter, so I'm going to break the rules just a little bit. But I do want to tell you about really quickly about a cool project. How many of you all knew that we had a national park here in Cumberland with 840 acres of national park land? Not many people know that. Cochrane Shoals, the Paceyville Palisades is part of the Chattahoochee River National Recreational Area. And the Paceyville Palisades, we are partnering with the National Park Service, a very unique partnership, probably anywhere in the country. But we're partnered with them to rehabilitate that unit. It is a $11 million project. Cumberland CID has put forth the funding for preliminary and engineering design. What we're planning to do is to have a new visitor contact center, plant more natural flowers and beautyscapes there, and we're also going to rehabilitate the parking lot there, kind of raising the ground because it is susceptible to flooding, and we want to preserve this park for generations to come. The last update was 45 years ago in the 70s when Jimmy Carter made it a national park as president. And this is a gem in our community. We want to protect it, we want to preserve it. It is shovel ready, and we're just waiting on the funding. We are working with our federal partners to acquire funding for the park and move forward with construction, hopefully in the future. We don't have a timeline on that just yet because we don't have funding. We can't establish a timeline until we have funding, but we're working hard to assemble that funding, and it's one of our exciting projects that we have going on.
I think what I'm most excited about is an organization that we have helped to stand up
It now exists and is going to be offering its first cohort in August of this year. So we don't typically help to start nonprofits, but when we see a gap in all of the services that are available, something that is needed to truly help the community, we're going to try to find a way to bring those services here. There's a national organization called Circles USA. I encourage you to look it up, circlesusa.org. They've been around for 25 years, and they have a track record, an evidence-based program that helps individuals who are trying to move out of poverty to do so. And their track record is that after the first 18 months in the program, which is highly volunteer-based, which is huge. So that means less dollars are needed to make it happen, but it's highly volunteer-based. And their track record shows that when someone sticks with the program for 18 months, they end up increasing their income by over 70%. So it's a way, instead of continuing to try, as long as people need Band-Aids, we're gonna keep giving out Band-Aids. You have to do that. But wouldn't it be nice if we can lessen the need for the Band-Aids in the first place? And so that's what this program's all about, and I'm very excited.
Y'all are so awesome. Round of applause. Truly, we have a dynamic community, very active partnerships, collaboration in order to create what you see. All right, legislative updates. It's your turn, you ready? Vanessa's up first to give us an update out of one of our senator's offices.
Good evening, everyone. I am Vanessa Drayton, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Northwest Georgia Regional Coordinator in the office of Senator John Ossoff. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Commissioner, I appreciate you inviting us to come and just share a couple of updates. I just want to let you all know that the Senator, since he's been in office, has been focused on putting some issues on the table that center around public safety, infrastructure, national security, and economic opportunities. Earlier this year, the Senator had an opportunity to introduce legislation to increase funding for local and state law enforcement agencies. The Senator heard from quite a few sheriffs, police chiefs, and what they were sharing with him was that they were having a hard time recruiting people and retaining employees. So with that, the Senator decided to work with other members in the Senate in bipartisan manner to fund, to increase wages and to increase training and to increase recruiting to get more people to come on board for the law enforcement agencies. Another public safety area where the Senator actually met with individuals was with our public safety individuals as well as our firefighters. The firefighters have shared that it's been, again, hard to recruit individuals to come and work in the fire departments. Currently, the Senator is working on bipartisan legislation, which is also known as the Fire Grants and Safety Act. That is a grant that they're working on in which the goal is to increase recruitment, upgrade fire equipment, and to also strengthen training. As far as the infrastructure, as we all know, the bipartisan infrastructure law was rolled out, and he has successfully delivered resources to many communities across the state of Georgia. Those resources would actually help upgrade water infrastructure, highway safety, municipal airport expansions, broadband access. You know, I think a lot of us here in the metro area take it for granted that we have access to broadband, but there are many parts of Georgia that there's still an issue with that. So the infrastructure law allowed for that. National security and government oversight. The Senator Ossoff, that is very important to him. So much so that he is actually a member of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. On that committee, he is tasked with investigating fraud, abuse, and corruption within the government. This is his way and that committee's way of holding the federal government accountable for any issues that they may be, or any oversight. This week alone, the senator actually convened a military housing session to continue his work on improving housing conditions on our military bases. It's a shame that not our veterans, but our military personnel that are putting their lives on the line for us don't have safe homes to live in. So right now, he is leading an effort in doing an investigation, hold those accountable. Last year, as the chair of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, he investigated federal prison systems and uncovered crime and corruption and abuse. And he took action by passing laws to make sure that the federal prisons are accountable and make those changes. And he also serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee, again, continuing to ensure that national security is at the utmost of importance to him. I am here today to just let you know that our office also has where you can reach out to us for any type of federal issues that you have with agencies such as IRS, the Veterans Affairs, if there's an American flag request, or if you have any type of casework issues. We get quite a few calls on passports, especially this time of the year, so we've been kind of slammed with that, but just know that we are here to serve you. I'm over here in the corner, I have my cards with me, or you can go to ossoff.senate.gov. I won't give out a phone number because I'll just rather give you my personal work cell phone number. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. And State Senator Pedro Patrick.
Thank you, Commissioner. Congratulations to the people that have hung in here. We're still here. And I have 5 minutes to cover 40 days of the legislative session. So what I'm going to do is talk about some trends rather than specific bills. I've got 14 pages worth of bills with me that anybody who has a specific question can come and ask me about. I'm Kay Kirkpatrick. I represent Senate District 32. And if you don't know where that is, it's this sort of purplish area in the middle of the map, and it's half Cobb and half Cherokee, and that's a result of the redistricting that happened last year. I previously had East Cobb, all of East Cobb, and a lot of Sandy Springs, and now I don't have any of Fulton County, but I've picked up a big chunk of Cherokee County. So all of us are getting used to our new districts. I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon. I was president of Resurgence Orthopedics for many years and did not have any intention or plans of getting into politics. And it's definitely been a journey. I was elected in 2017 when the seat opened up because previous Senator Judson Hill ran for Congress. And so I'm proud to be down there representing 191,546 people. So that's what we each do. All the districts have to match. And one of the things that happened over the last 10 years is that the growth has been all on the north part of the state, and the rural areas are shrinking. And so the districts here have become much more dense. The districts in the rural areas have really gotten huge. Some of my colleagues have 13 counties that they're representing. So it's a big thing. My sort of weekend hobby is I'm a volunteer in the Georgia State Defense Force, which means I've been sworn in as a captain in the Army, and we're a volunteer unit that supports the National Guard. I'm in the medical unit, and we do training exercises. We drill 1 weekend a month, and so that's been an opportunity to give back. My whole family are veterans, and this is my chance to serve. My committees in the Senate, I'm vice chair of the Health Committee, which makes sense since I'm a doctor. I'm secretary of the Insurance Committee. Health and insurance go very closely hand in hand, if you haven't figured that out. I serve on the Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security Committee, and also the Appropriations Committee, which of course is important because the budget is our one constitutional responsibility that we have to do before we go home. And then this year, we were blessed with a new committee called Children and Families, and I'm the chairman of that now. And we deal a lot with foster care and adoption types of issues. And we've got serious problems in the state with kids in hotels and on the floors of defects offices and things like that. So we made some good progress on that this year, but we've got a study committee on that this summer. We'll continue working on that. This session was very interesting because it's the first time in probably, I think about 50 years that we had new leadership in the Senate and the House. So we have Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones in the Senate, a new majority leader, a new pro tem, and 10 new senators out of 56 senators. So that's pretty significant. And then on the House side, we've got a new speaker, Speaker John Burns, and 42 new state reps out of 180. So there are a massive amount of people who don't know which end of the building is which still, because I still have trouble with that sometimes because the two ends of the building are a mirror image of each other. But there's a steep learning curve down there on how the system works and how to get things done. So in spite of all that, we actually had a very good session. And Georgia is in a great position because we recovered from the pandemic a lot faster than some other states. And I have to thank Governor Kemp for his leadership in that area, because what has happened is we continue to have all this economic development going on all over the state. And of course, that's a great thing for all of us. The biggest problem we have now is that we don't have people to fill all the jobs that have been created. And that's in every industry, but especially the service industries, the hospitality industries. You've probably seen some of your favorite restaurants close and things like that. But so workforce is a big focus for us under the Gold Dome. We are one of the handful of states that's been able to maintain our AAA bond rating. And that is really important for our economy. So we've had good results, and so as the result of that is we had a pretty big budget this year. And I don't know what next year will look like. We always track the, the economic outlook reports, and the governor starts that process based on that, and then it goes through a whole process with the House and the Senate. And this year the budget passed on day 40, which is our very last day, which was March 29th. And what we do at the state level is we balance our budget, which is different than what you might see at the federal level. No offense. But at the state, if something goes to one program, it comes out of another program. And about almost 80% of the budget is either public education or healthcare. And that leaves less than 25% for everything else, public safety and whatever. So it's a food fight, and everybody thinks their issue is the most important of all. But some of the things, and I've got a summary of the budget things if anybody wants detail if you're a numbers person. But what I will tell you is that we fully funded K-12 education again. We restored the Hope Scholarship funding to 100%. Which is a big deal. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. And we are giving $1 billion back to taxpayers, and also a property tax credit, exemption, which will help a lot of homeowners. And we're also studying, we have a massive number of tax credits in the state, and some of them go back 30 years. And there has not been a good system for accountability to figure out which ones of those are really paying for themselves and which ones are not. So we passed a bill on tax credit review this year. So that's going to happen. We were able to give pay raises to the teachers, again, to finish the commitment that the governor made when he was campaigning. And we also were able to give raises to law enforcement, pretty significant, and also to state employees, because the state has trouble keeping employees because they can't compete with the private sector, as you can imagine. So priorities that we worked on, economic development is always key, and electric vehicles, I don't know if you've been reading about this in the news, but Georgia is becoming a hub for electric vehicles. And like many things, the technology gets way ahead of the law. And so we were able to create a framework for electric vehicle charging. We didn't touch the flat fee that the electric vehicles pay, but there's now a system in place for how that's all going to work. And anybody that wants more details about that, let me know. We gave additional money to our technical college system to try to help with our workforce issues, but an equally important thing for workforce is third grade reading, and I think you heard that from the library person earlier. We know that if you're not reading on grade level by third grade, the numbers, the outcomes for graduation rates, for incarceration, and a lot of other things are really directly related. And so we passed legislation on literacy education this year. We also are trying to ease some of the burdens of occupational licensure with people coming from other states, particularly military and military spouses. And so because we actually license a lot of things, I'm not quite sure why we need to license auctioneers and cosmetologists, but we license 42 things under the Secretary of State's office. And so there's a study committee about that this year to figure out who we actually need to license and who do we not. We worked a lot on crime and public safety because if you're not safe, everything else is pretty much out the window. So we have a lot of gang activity in Georgia, which I'm sure you're aware of. That's responsible for a large percentage of the crime that we're facing, especially in the metro areas, but it's not just the metro areas anymore. And so we're increasing penalties, especially for people who are recruiting young people for gangs. And I can give you more details about that. The children and family stuff I'm particularly proud of because we were able to streamline the juvenile justice process for many of the legal proceedings that happen for foster kids. And we also were able to pass, I don't know if you've ever heard of TANF, but it's temporary assistance for needy families. We're extending that to pregnant moms throughout the state. We also have a couple pilots going on for home visits for pregnant women, but also postpartum. Because we have terrible statistics on maternal mortality all across the country that got worse through the pandemic, but Georgia is not where we want to be, and so we're spending a lot of effort on that. I myself had 8 bills, and I won't go into what all of them were. 5 of them passed or on their way to the governor. 2 of them are being signed next week. And the ones that didn't pass this year are still alive because we operate on a 2-year biennial. And so anything that didn't pass last year was dead, but this session, we've got next year to finish things up. And I think we actually passed less bills this year than normal because of the learning curve of all the new people and new leadership. It just took a while to get everybody cranked up. There's 2 bills that I just wanted to mention that are a little bit related to Cobb County. And one of them was a bill of mine that did not pass yet because it didn't get called up for a vote. But you may be aware of the passport fee situation that we're facing in some of the metro counties where the court clerks can voluntarily process passports. But in a lot of metro counties, there's a loophole in our law that lets that money go directly as personal income to that person, and there's no reporting requirement for that. And so I tried to close that loophole this year. As you can imagine, that hit some resistance. And so I'm working on a way to get that done, at least the transparency part of it, the reporting part, so that the county knows what's going on, because the resources that are being used are county resources, county staff, county offices, county paper, county everything. So stay tuned for that. And then Wellstar, which is a big player in Cobb County, obviously, is in the middle of a deal with the state because Augusta University, where the Medical College of Georgia is located, has been having big financial problems. And so the state was seeking a partner to run that hospital. And the only person who stuck through the negotiating process were the people from Wellstar. And so that deal is on the way to being closed, and I don't know exactly how that's all going to go, but they'll then have a footprint in Augusta that will allow them also to branch out into rural Georgia. So that was a very interesting conversation. At the Capitol, we always have a lot of various push and pull. You may be surprised to know that more than 80% of the bills that we pass are either unanimous or very close to it. There's a lot of bipartisan work that goes on at the state level. And you don't read about any of that in the newspaper, because what you're gonna hear about in the newspaper are the things that are controversial, where the votes are down party lines or they're very divisive. So just keep that in mind and know that everyone is there. Well, I don't know about everyone, but most people are there for the right reasons, and they're there to serve, and they're there to try to make life better for 11 million Georgians. And so be patient with us. We're there for 3 months, and then everybody kind of goes back to their day jobs. It's a citizen legislature. It's not like Congress. So it's supposed to be part-time. Unfortunately, I don't know how to work part-time, so I work on policy all year, but that's okay. I like doing it. And Cobb County is a great place, and we work closely together between the Cobb delegation and the state. And I think Cobb is a leader in many areas that have had some really good ideas that have then become statewide projects that we've done. So you should be proud to live in Cobb County. I've lived here since 1986, and I think it's a great place to be. And my door's open. I'm easy to find. You can go to the Senate website, senate.ga.gov, and find all the senators. If you want to look at the district map to know who your senator is, I'm happy to hang around and show it to you. And I'll stop right there. Yeah.
You put a spare time.
I play a little golf, but I'm not very good at it.
Thank you so much. Round of applause. It's always, I just want you all to understand, none of these government entities exist in a silo. We all have to work together and coordinate. And to the degree that we are able to coordinate and work together is the degree that you have a happy home. All right, so Connecting Cobb Community Awards. It's one of my favorite parts. Want to help me? So some individuals aren't here, so I won't read through all of them, but every quarter we do some awards for some outstanding work. Let's go through each one. Is she here or did she leave? Oh, okay. Renee, hello. So Renee is going to win the board appointee of the quarter. Congratulations. So for everyone, yes, Renee is actually going to be rolling off of the neighborhood safety committee, but she has brought a very unique perspective to that committee all around cybersecurity and helping make sure that we focus on that. And so certainly in recognition of that effort, one of the projects we'll be running out of the cabinet is a community-facing effort around cybersecurity and making sure that you all are equipped with the right skills to make good decisions when you turn on your computer. So, thank you for your service. All right. Oh, this one's fun. See that? You want to read it?
The first quarter, 2003, cabinet appointee of the quarter, right? Yeah. Ms. Laura Pledge.
And Laura is actually rolling off of our cabinet. In education, she has done a tremendous job. How many programs? At least 3. At least 3.
And I wanted to speak on what Senator Patrick said. We have a program May 1st. We are working with Decoding Dyslexia. We'll be at the Marietta Performing Arts Center, and we'll be doing a screening and a panel for the right to read. And we'll talk about basically what the legislature passed, as well as going over different ways that we can help our struggling readers and shorten that gap.
Fantastic. All right. And I think our other participants are not here, so I'm going to read them off because, I'm going to read them off just so everyone else can hear some of the great work. So for collaborative elected official, these are always tough, but certainly during this legislative session, always a lot of moving pieces. But Doug Stoner, was a really great point of contact to make sure that we stayed lockstep with everything that was going on, decisions that were being made, and where there could be some opportunity for improvements or enhancements. We always do a collaborative department spotlight, and it's dual reason. We really want to highlight the departments because they do such great work and don't always get the credit for it. But this quarter's recipient, Cobb Libraries. You mentioned these earlier, this group, but this is collaborative organization with our office. So we always have programs going on, efforts going on. Cobb Collaborative has gotten one, the Cobb Community Foundation, we haven't gotten theirs yet, but we'll get one soon. But really just great partners all throughout. And so for this last quarter, on the recent round of initiatives, it's going to be WellStar. And then this individual, you may now know her as an elected official, but I met her prior to that. She's done so many wonderful things in this community. She's helped contribute to a lot of the successful events, making sure that we stay safe and secure, especially during these mega events like the World Series, keeping everyone all together, and that is Latonya Hines. She wins the community member, collaborative community member. And then the last thing that I'll read out, so I won't read everything here, but this is a proclamation. So I'll give the brief story. When I first decided to run for office, one of the initiatives that I heard on the street in the city of Smyrna was to create the Smyrna Arts District. Well, Mayor Norton created the Smyrna Arts District after he got elected. So he made sure that that came to fruition, and this is just a proclamation commemorating that decision, that effort, and saying really great job. So we'll be on the lookout for some initiatives that come out of this this effort that he put together, and just really excited about that. Oh, yeah, you can.
Thank you.
All right. So I go into the Q&A, and this, I want to make sure that I just take a moment though, and I was going to do this at the very end, I'm going to do this right now because I think our time is running out. I'm on watch. But there is someone in this room that is so, so important to me, and not just to me, but to the entire community. She has been with me for longer than my time in the office, but has done so much, and I attribute, if not 100% of my success, majority of my success, to the effort that she puts in. And she will be leaving us May 5th. We are looking for a replacement, right? But she's leaving because she is moving forward in the next stage of her journey. I'm so proud of her. Aaliyah, you're amazing. And please stand up because I want everyone to She is going to be going to Harvard. She made a decision. She will be at Harvard Law School. We're just delighted. So, knock it out the box, girl. All right. And there are two other individuals I did not introduce when I had my office stand up. Yep, the two ladies looking at each other. Linda, Lola, please stand up. So these are two interns in my office, also Emory, and have been working very hard, learning lots of new skills in digital marketing and program management, and really just appreciate the time and effort that they put in. All right, Q&A, what you all wanted to know. These are questions that you all sent me. I tried to group them. As you can see, it's size 7 font. And I'll just go through these pretty quickly. There are some things that I will ask, we'll just have to follow up with afterwards. But I did want to give enough, air cover to say, hey, look, these are the questions you came in with. Let's see what you got. So what are the updates related to stormwater issues around the county? What should individual homeowners do as many feel disregarded? Also, what about continuing development and its impact? So I grouped these together because all same thread around stormwater. A lot of effort is going into stormwater, and a lot of collaborative efforts have to take place, not just within the county, but county and state and county and federal government. There are some real treasury language changes that have to exist at the federal level in order for us to utilize some of those funds that came out of the infrastructure bill. So this is something that's currently being worked on with Senator Warnock's office, helping kind of navigate us through that pathway. But hopefully we can get some of those changes down through HUD, and we'll be able to see that extra investment come in for some of the serious issues that we face from a long-term perspective. Certainly happy to open up the book on that. But for individual homeowners, if you have a very specific issue, there was someone that sent in almost a paragraph worth, it looked like an email worth of, because it had the regards on there, of a question. If you have that type of question, please connect with the office so that we can walk together through it and see where there may be some type of drop-off. Unfortunately, these are just big changes, right? If there were another community in the state, the same type of options are available. There really aren't that many. So what we're trying to do is a significant change for the state of Georgia as far as the policies that we're able to utilize, but also, like I said, from a federal perspective, unlocking some of those funds, because there's just a lost in translation aspect in terms of where the restrictions go and how those funds can be used. So those are ongoing conversations for us to get to something that is beneficial for different homeowners. And the last one about continuing development and its impact, its contribution to stormwater. So it's a weird kind of scenario when it comes to development and stormwater management. You would think we build more, so there's more water. That's why I'm playing. Kind of. So Cobb County's development in the past has been without any real stormwater guidelines, right? So a lot of our development is pretty old. Stormwater guidelines came later, which means any new development now is held to a higher standard from a development specification standpoint, okay? So it is always our opportunity to try to reverse some of the poor building engineering that occurred in the yesteryears. Where it doesn't work out is when enforcement against those new strategies that new development puts in place falls apart. So if they have a detention pond that's not maintained, or if it's blocked, those types of things, that's where you see an increase in the stormwater flow due to development. So it's not a direct contribution, it's more of a, because there isn't enforcement or maintenance of what was put in accordance with the new standards, that's where we see the drop off. Where we also have problems is the private-public line and that demarcation. So that's caused a lot of frustration within our community. I completely sympathize and share with it. And those are some of the things that we're trying to tackle from the language perspective. All right, regarding the MSPLOS, how are we thinking about active transportation since walkability is critical for transit options? How do we improve overall walkability and safety for cyclists? There's a lot. Certainly the Safe Streets initiatives that are out there. I know we're looking at adapting some federal funds towards making some of that happen. That's making sure that we are building roads that are mindful of cyclists. And it also means that whenever there's a new road or an improvement being done, that also factors in. But the research around whether or not the MSPLOS tax would cover some of those, that last mile, that mile connectivity to transit options. There is a lot of good work that DOT is doing to determine, out of the universe of things that we want, what can the M-SPLOST cover? What can the T-SPLOST cover? And what can other buckets of funding cover? Because all of those different funding channels have rules and restrictions tied to them. So we have to be holistic in what do we want to accomplish, and then approach it saying, okay, which bucket will get us there? And then as a community, you all have the final say in what it is that we do as far as moving forward. So the options will be put before you, and you get a chance to tell us what you want to do. How are we addressing safety in the schools? Schools fall outside the purview of the county, but it doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of worried families, parents, mothers, fathers, etc., who reach out and express a desire for something. I don't have the answer, I don't, but I'm certainly willing to collaborate with those that want to be creative in the approach and are solely focused on solving the problem, whatever that core issue may be. And it's a tough conversation. And I've heard some of the statistics around, what has a pronounced impact on our kids, and that is an emotional topic. So happy to have those conversations, and as a community, if there's anything that we can, if you want to come together and start looking at different options to seek or advocate for, I'm happy to do that in partnership with you. But it is a tough conversation. What are some trail updates? Robinwood Creek to KSU and connecting the Comet. I think I'm gonna have to get back with you on that one, because Drew, I believe, had to step out of the room because we're I know well past time. But there's a lot of effort going into the trails. It's a big part of the M-SPLOST plan. So just so everybody knows, we had a ton of work sessions about the mobility SPLOST, the T-SPLOST, all the things, what the needs are. I have an entire report that I put out there on what came back from surveys and what people wanted to see. And the county also did a study around it. So that information, what I put in there as a part of one of the goals is to connect our trails. So I know that is, it's a priority, is to make sure that wherever we have those investment opportunities, that we do so. Regarding road improvements, with the update on Daniel Street, Bentley Road lighting, Johnson Ferry, Lower Roswell, road maintenance on main roads, crosswalk by Windy Ridge, hiding power lines and findings and powers buried, increased lighting on Maple Road, and street lights at the intersections. Yeah. Daniel Street and Bentley Road. So for the Daniel Street one, I've now identified it as a high priority corridor for research. So there will likely be a study on that over the next year or so that we can determine what the best alignment looks like. It is a tough intersection because it's close to another intersection and there's a ton of traffic and everybody wanted the school. So there you go. That's the summary version. Bentley Road lighting. So this is that new. This is making sure that the new road and Bentley Road, that whole corridor, has additional lighting. So I mentioned earlier the lighting district's conversation that we'll be taking up. So hopefully this can be addressed as a part of that. Because that came in quite frequently, actually. Like there were a lot of people that asked about that. Johnson Ferry, Lower Roswell. It's in design. So we had a community chat about it. A lot of people showed up, gave their opinions on median, no median, lanes, no lanes, parks, no parks, all the things. And so staff went back and re-engaged a design firm to take all of that input and do a redesign for a smaller budget. And we will get that readout soon enough on what they came up with based upon that feedback. And there will be another community chat to update everyone on where we are and how we want to move forward. Road maintenance on main roads. So if you see a pothole, click fix it. It's an app that you just take a picture of it and send it to our DOT and they'll be out to fix it. Or email us and DOT will be out to fix it. So just let us know. We can't fix it if we don't know that it's there, okay? Crosswalk by Windy Ridge. Okay, that sounds good. Just, yeah, it's now, it's in the queue because it came in through here. Hiding power lines at minings. This was a part of the mining's vision. This is a conversation that since it came up, and we're going to go ahead and pursue and see what does it take to hide the power lines. Same goes for the Powers Ferry corridor. And then increased lighting on Maple Road. Same thing in street lights in the intersection. So same thing there as far as increasing the lighting districts. Why is East Cobb a great place for families, and how are you maintaining those qualities? Great schools. It's pretty quiet. It's yeah. I mean, it's a great place. It just depends. Everybody has a different place that they're looking for, depending on where they want to live. And East Cobb certainly has some very unique qualities in that space. And maintaining it, as far as development maintenance, it's in the future land use map. There are changes designated for it. And just keeping good conversation with you all, in case I missed something. All right, what are 3 gaps in mental health and how can we fill them? Okay. Certainly, mental health, I think, has a role in everything. It has a role in our jobs, has a role in work-life balance, has a role in our families, and we talk about safety in the schools. I mean, it's go.
There's another town hall.
Yeah, it's another town hall. So I think there are several different gaps, and I think we are slowly trying to tackle each one as we discover them. There's certainly a lot of youth mental health issues. We've done a couple of town halls around mental health, just so that we can have those discussions and look at new programs. But if you have any ideas, please let the office know, and we'll try to make them happen. Let's see, is there any interest in beautifying unused buildings? Yeah. I would say yeah. I think this might be looking at taking, I don't know, 20 years back, Atlanta had done some initiative where you could buy an abandoned unused building for, okay, that too. To buy it at a cheap amount and redevelop it. So maybe that's perhaps an interest in this community. I think there are possibilities for it. There just have to be some guardrails because it can get out of hand with gentrification and overflooding the market. But there are certainly some opportunities for redevelopment in certain corridors. What are your specific ideas to address housing access issues? What's your position on multi-unit housing? Would you support a land bank? How do local companies and residents get involved in helping tackle the housing issues? And are we protecting our seniors from predatory lending practices? There are quite a few specific ideas that I have around housing, but I really want to stand up the task force so that those ideas can be fleshed out and researched properly. And it kind of ties to the land bank. I've read about the land bank. I think it is, there are uses for it, but I think if it were to be adopted by Cobb, it'd have to be modified pretty significantly. But there are some opportunities with it. Multi-unit housing, I don't really have a position in general on multi-unit housing. It's as it comes up. Does it make sense? Is it livable? Can people afford it? All the things. And how do local companies and residents get involved? Let me know. Just let me know that you want to be involved, and I will get you plugged in. And are we protecting our seniors from predatory lending practices? I think there is opportunity to have more discussion around this one. It's not something that has fallen on the radar as far as the list of priorities, so we can see if there is a program or effort that we can do around this space, maybe in conjunction with the Senior Services Department. How do we strengthen relationships between the community and our public safety? Will you introduce a citizens review board? That is not currently on the pathway, but there are some very unique opportunities I think we have to strengthen that relationship. A lot of them are already in place, making sure that, I believe in expanding the PAL program, which is the Police Athletic League. It's an incredible program. I think we can add scholarships to it. I think it could be broader for more individuals to partake. And I think that there should be incentives for participating in that from the employee side. I think increasing pay are all things that can help, that's tied to the outcome or tied to the behavior that you want to see. All of those things can be really advantageous for building the kind of culture, or maintaining and continuing the kind of culture that we want to see. And then, yeah, Citizens Review Board, just not on the roadmap at this point. But I did not discount the possibility of discussing it. Always happy to hear, learn, and share more. How and when does the budget get developed? All throughout the year. I mean, where you see us talking about different initiatives, talking about things that are important. And so what that means is when it's time to actually compile the budget, there's a deeper consideration of what needs to go in it. And, yeah, okay. How do we get more visibility for the green circulator for more access to the air tumor around the battery? It's a great question. We can look into what that could mean. Important issue in District 2, I would say stormwater is kind of topping the chart at this point in time. Increased funding for improving first responders' response to mental health calls. That's what we did. What is the best way that we, the Brazilian community, could do or say to thank you for, that's sweet. Thank you for recognizing us as a positive contributor to the economic and cultural progress of Cobb County. I would just say keep strengthening and definitely let's continue building a partnership. I'm looking at Jill back there. She's a real voice in the Brazilian community in the Little Brazil area. What's going on with the maps? Again, that's an hour-long conversation, but I'm still here, so that should kind of give you an idea. Additional clarity needed. Someone asked, please explain more about the affordable housing raise from 40 to 44% cement increase. And I don't know what that means. So whoever asked that question, let me know. And then there were a couple that came in around Dobbin Strong. It's a really incredible initiative, and just looking forward to continuing conversations to make that come to fruition. So I think I ran through that as quickly as I possibly could. I'll be kind of walking really slowly outward. So yeah, that concludes my presentation.